warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to QUIP's Postgraduate Workshop Series 2. First and foremost, I would like to welcome and convey my deepest appreciation to our invited guest speaker of today, Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Aminul Islam, who is Professor of Finance Department, University Malaysia Perlis, UNIMAP. I would also like to welcome and thank all the participants who are attending today's postgraduate workshop series. The second workshop series titled Do's and Don'ts for Supervisors. The sole aim of this workshop is to provide adequate exposure to all supervisors and students in respect of the importance of effective supervision and good thesis writing under QUIP's Doctor of Philosophy or PhD and Master Degree programs. Before we begin our workshop this morning, allow me to share with you the biodata of our distinguished and a very experienced guest speaker today for our information. Okay, Professor Dr. Aminul Islam currently works as a professor at the Finance Division of the Faculty of Applied and Human Sciences, University Malaysia Perlis. Prof. Aminul does research in finance, accounting, and entrepreneurship, Sukuk also. Okay, his current projects are on Sukuk, Islamic banking, entrepreneurship, and so on. She has published numerous articles and papers in both established local and international journals. And his research interests include in the field of finance, suku, entrepreneurship, management, and also research methodology. Okay, Professor Dr. Aminul is also involved in many postgraduate workshop series and international mega webinar series organized by the Platform for Research and Development with various universities, both locally and abroad, such as University Technology Mara, University Tun Hussein On Malaysia, Universiti Putera Malaysia, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Universiti Teknologi Malaysia, International Islamic University Malaysia atau UIA, Universiti Utara Malaysia, Universiti Petronas Malaysia, Taylor's University, Universiti Tun Abdul Razak, Malaysia University of Science and Technology, IEEPS, Islamia University Bawalpur Pakistan, Dafodi International University, Northern University Bangladesh, University of Liberal Arts Bangladesh, East Delta University Bangladesh, Cambridge Institute of Technology India, and ATBU Nigeria. So without further ado, it's my honor to invite Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Aminul Islam to deliver her talk today to our participants.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursalin Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi asma'in. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi sadi sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. First of all, Alhamdulillah, I feel very delighted to be with QUIP for the first time today. I have visited the campus a few times when Dr. Mizan was the rector at the beginning, but then I never had chances of going afterwards. Thank you, Dr. Bibi Nuraini, my former colleague and the future colleague, for inviting me, as well as the QUIP leadership for inviting me to join in a workshop to share some of my experiences, exposures in supervision of PhD students at UNIMAP. I'm sure there'll be a few more participants who will be joining later. Let me share the slide and then I'll slowly start. Okay, let's share. Give me a few seconds. What is there? Can you see my slide?
Yes, Prof, we can see your slides.
Okay. All right, I made little changes with the title. I hope it's okay.
It's okay, Doctor.
All right, so I made the title as Effective Research Supervision, Do's and Don'ts. Those of you know me, I do have a YouTube channel uh, dedicated on research and research methodology. And I do have about 6,500 subscribers now in 1 year. Mostly, most of them are PhD students. And I do conduct webinars almost every month. Even some months I do webinar, I do get invitation even 4 or 5 times in a month. And in all about research and research methodology. All right. Research supervision is an art. Is an art. Everything that you do in our life, basically, there is an art in everything. When we started playing first time badminton, if you recall back, we know how we played. And when you couldn't play, we did not really enjoy it. Okay. And if you see people first time playing sepak takraw, you will see them how they play. Because they have not learned the art of playing sepak takraw, right? The same goes to many other games. And even when we started reading papers, I'm sure most of you have the same experience as I had. We started reading papers after reading few lines, not even a page. I felt like I want to run away. I didn't really enjoy it. It was so boring. But we carried on. We carried on, right? And then after reading 10 papers, 15 papers, or 20 papers, and slowly we started writing. And we can see that I can write a bit, and I can read and understand the papers. And then slowly we learn the art of reading a paper. Now at our level, it doesn't take more than 15 minutes to read a paper, right? Certain paper we read within 15 minutes, and we can tell what is there in the paper. The speed reading, the art that we learn, okay? So supervision also is definitely an art. And if you want to supervise a PhD or master student, we have no choice. We have to learn the art of supervision, okay? I think those of you who are married, you know how the family life is. It's all about art of learning, getting along with husband or wife, living under the same roof. There's so many things to learn to make sure that the family become harmonious and joyful and all that, right? Those people didn't have the art of living together. They will have breakups and divorce and all that. We see many happening, right? So that's the first point that I would like to make today for the participants, that there are certain arts, skills, acumen that we have to learn if we want to become a very good, effective, productive supervisor when it comes to PhD or master students. Okay, I'll quickly go through this. All of you know that this, basically research is an organized, effective, and systematic process. But the highlight is research is only undertaken when there is a problem. And identify and define research problem is undertaken in a research project, be it at the PhD level or master level. It could be even at the undergraduate level. At UNIMAP, we do have a final year project. Students in the undergraduate level, they have to do 1 year research project under supervision of lecturers in the faculty. So even that level, we will ask the students, identify a potential problem that you see affecting the society or industry or affecting the people. Okay, so when it comes to masters and PhD, definitely there must be an identified and defined research problem that would be the focus, the theme of our research. My talk is not about identifying and defining research problem, all that, but I will still have few slides, very few slides on it to highlight certain issues that we got to remember when you do supervision, okay? Research, there are many different definitions are there. It is a voice of discovery. And the one I like most is research is a journey. We start at the beginning. And some of us, for PhD, it takes about 3 years, commonly. on average, but it goes even up to 7 years. I have my own PhD students. It took us 7 years to complete PhD, 7 years. And there are students may complete even within 2 years. I had one student from Nigeria at UNIMAP in my faculty. He completed his research in 1 year and 9 months, everything done. But so fast. And then I say, you cannot submit. You have to complete the minimum period, 2 years. So I said, okay, why don't you write papers? And that student was a so good writer. I think we published about 13 Scopus Index Journal paper. Okay, and most of them are in Q3, Q2, Q4. Okay, so there could be also students like that. Those are very focused, and they had some homework before they started doing the PhD. And that's why I call it a journey, because when you start a research, you simply do not wake up in the morning and start doing research. You had your P-plan, right? If you are a lecturer in a university and you want to take up the PhD journey, you do some plan before you start doing certain activities to take up, the journey. Same like if you are planning to go from Perlis to KL, you simply do not wake up and start driving. You do prepare certain things. That's how it is. So that's why I call it research journey. And during the journey, there could be many things happen. And we take on that. We accept challenges, and we know there will be hurdles, barriers, and still we go on until the journey is completed. The PhD is like that. And those of you who are with me, I think you are aware that PhD is the program which has the highest dropout rates among all degree programs, 50% worldwide, 50%, 50%. In the undergraduate program, usually the dropout rate is about 10%. But in the PhD program, the dropout rate is 50%. So if 100 students registering at your faculty, you can assume that 50 might be dropping out, especially those students coming with their own finance, not sponsored by universities or not under any scholarship. Okay, so it's a journey. It's a journey, so that therefore the journey cannot be made enjoying, delighting just with one person. Okay, so journey become enjoying when you have 3 people join together. And that's where the question of a team comes in. So you'll have a supervisor, you have a co-supervisor, you have your peers doing also PhD with you in the same faculty. That makes up the team. And next.
Dr. Abdullah, please mute your mic, please. Dr. Abdullah Saleh, please mute your mic, please. Sorry, Prof.
No problem. It's very common. If you have any question at any time, you can stop me. Otherwise, I would be grateful if you can mute your microphone during the session. Or you can stop me at any time. I would even love that. I would like that, okay? All right, so research is an experience, and there are many different definitions that there, which I'm not going to go through. The postgraduate study, supervision, the question of supervision comes in when we talk about postgraduate study mainly, right? So when it comes to postgraduate study, I put it in a red mark. The definition of postgraduate or research-based program is basically the focus is on creation of a significant piece of research. So you are coming out with something which is significant, impactful, which is relevant, useful to the society. Someone, somewhere in the nation or in the world should be benefited from your work. That is in the postgraduate level, especially when it comes to research-based master's or research-based PhD studies, okay? But again, depending on the institutions, different university may have different requirements, different prerequisites and all that. But still, when you complete the study at the postgraduate level, then definitely you will be gaining, the participants expect to gain a lot of knowledge, understanding necessary, explanation involving the research problem that is identified, finding out the phenomena, and then why this phenomena is happening, and how can you help this phenomena to be stopped and all that, okay? Now, let me differentiate the master's and PhD level before I proceed to supervision topic. There is a major area of misunderstanding. When we attend the final Viva Voices session, I do chair a lot of sessions at INIMAP. I have never supervised any master's student by research, okay? Somehow I was fortunate because at the beginning when we launched the PhD, the faculty level, there are not many PhD holders were available. So I was fortunate to get many students. So I focus only PhD students. I never supervised master's student. But when I attend the final Viva Voices session, I see many examiners cannot differentiate what is expected from a master thesis and what is expected from a PhD thesis, all right? So in a master level, basically, we want students to demonstrate what they have obtained in terms of knowledge, understanding, skills, and capabilities, demonstrating what they have learned, okay? And number two, show that they have acquired a higher level of study skill that allow them to continually progress in their own with greater autonomy. So now, in the master level, we started seeing that the student can do work independently. So we are giving the autonomy. Undergraduate level is fully supervised, right? It's taught courses where students attend the class, they learn, and they develop certain skills which is expected of them. But in the master's level, we expect students to move into a bit of autonomy, bit of independence, okay? So without guidance, they should be able to do certain work and exhibit greater ability in their chosen field of research and development. So that's an ability, huh, to exhibit that they have certain kind of skills to do research and development. Here, you can see that there's no such word saying that there should be new knowledge contribution or new policy recommendation, new contextual contribution, nothing there. Okay, so in master's level, what you want to see is that they have upgraded themselves upper than the degree level. They become independent and they can do some tasks and responsibilities without much supervision. So in a master thesis, we do not really expect students to show new knowledge contribution. That is the striking difference between PhD and masters. I did attend few sessions whereby examiners started questioning students, what is new, what is new. Actually, in master level, we do not really look into that. Okay, master's level, we want to see that a student can do research and a student can demonstrate how did he do research, how did he collect the data, how did the analysis was done, and whether he is able to interpret the findings that he has in his research. That's basically master by research. When it comes to PhD, it's totally different. Demonstrate in-depth understanding of a field. So now you are talking about an expert in an area, very specified, small niche area, right? So when you did PhD, like mine, my PhD is in finance, but my focus was on underpricing and earning management. That could be considered like 3 to 4% of finance, or 5% of finance, not more than that. So in a very niche area, specialized area where a PhD student focus and do study. So they develop in-depth understanding in that area and it become an expert in that area, okay? Exhibit mastery of knowledge and skills in the field of study. So they become like master in that area, okay? Show that they have expertise in research and able to conduct research independently. I'm not sure whether there are students in this session now, but that's what we expect students. Students need to be independent. Of course, you have a supervisor, but yet your research, this is your PhD journey. You're supposed to take the leadership, not the supervisor. That point has to be understood very well, okay? But again, I'm going to elaborate more on this. Make an original and significant contribution in the field of study. That is what the PhD is given. So new knowledge contribution must be there. Something very original, something different, something very special, something distinctive, something that you found in your research nobody has found before. All right, it may come from various aspects. It could be extending a theory, nullifying a theory, modifying a theory. It could be integration of few theories. Okay, so there are many way of doing this. Okay, so I'll be again focusing on that a bit later. Use academic and scholarly discourse capabilities to communicate their findings to peers and people in the field. So it is not enough for you to do a research, but PhD students are also expected to be able to communicate. with the audience, with the people in the chosen field. And that's why we have proposal defense, and even at UNIMAP we have pre-viva and final viva. I'm not sure at QUIB whether you have the similar, but more or less it's similar in every university. In USM, they have proposal defense, finding defense, and then a final viva. So their proposal defense and finding defense would be just on the data analysis and findings, and then they go for the final viva. But in UNIMAP is a bit different. We have proposal defense and then pre-viva. Pre-viva is like a mock final viva, okay, where the internal examiners will be giving feedback to make improvements so that the students have easier time in the final viva session. Okay, so the students will be taught, somehow given the facility, opportunities to develop the capabilities, the abilities to communicate his findings with the people, and demonstrate the use of critical analysis, evaluation, and synthesis skills. So that's where the question of data analysis comes in. So the robustness of data analysis is another area which is very important when it comes to PhD student. All right. So the difference between PhD and masters is very clear. All right. So if you look at earlier slide that I have, none of these points are there in deliberately, you know. So when it comes to PhD, the candidate should be able to demonstrate in-depth understanding in the field, meaning he knows the theories revolving in that area. He knows the weaknesses and strengths of the theories, and then he should be able to explain which theories is the underpinning theories for his framework or the model. He should be able to even explain what are the supporting theories there, and why he didn't pick other theories. Why did he pick certain theories? All right, so that shows that he has in-depth understanding of the field or discipline. Okay, and then something new has to be there. New knowledge contribution must be there. And this is very common. I remember in one of the PhD session, Viva versus session at UNIMAP, I asked the student after everything is done, the Viva versus session, I was the chairman. I asked him, can you tell us why you think you should be given a PhD degree? All right. And the student was an engineering student. And his answer was, he said, Prof, I spent 5 years and I used to study 6 hours a day. So I said, because he spent 6 hours a day and 6 years, so he should be given a PhD, is it? He said, yes. Then I asked him a question. I said, what about a taxi driver driving taxi for 30 years and 10 hours a day? Can you give him a PhD for driving the taxi, or PhD in taxi driving? So he looked at me. I said, that should not be an answer, right? PhD is given because either you make either one of the contribution, new knowledge contribution, methodological contribution, or contextual practical contribution. One of these must be there. But dominantly, we expect new knowledge contribution there in a PhD research. All right. Now let us look at what is supervision then. All right. So I am moving slowly into the topic given to me. Okay. So typically, supervisors act as a guide, as a mentor, a source of information, as a facilitator to the students. Okay. So here, if you look at the terms being used, guide, mentor, source of information, facilitator, none of these words meaning of spoon feeding the student. It doesn't say that, right? Sometimes students expect us as supervisors, they expect us to do everything for them, you know. They even will request you, Prof, give me some papers, good papers in the area. I say, that is not my job. I'm working as a guide. It is your job to find the relevant papers, right? At that time we did, like myself, when I did my MBA at USM and I was doing a thesis, internet was not there. The life was so challenging, you know. I used to go to the library and spend the whole day. I managed to get only one paper after spending the whole day and taking journal edition after edition, volume after volume. And after 10, 15 of volumes after going through, I get only one relevant paper. And that not only one university enough. We used to visit 6, 7, 8 universities, libraries. Days after day we spend and we get papers. But now it's just a matter of a click. You know, it's just a fingertips. You just click and you get the papers. Okay. So we work, supervisors, we work as a guide. We work as a guide, as a mentor, a source of information, as a facilitator. I think it's understood this term, so I'm not going to explain that. Okay. Offering advice in your field of study and providing direction of the research, setting milestones, monitoring the progress, providing feedback, encouraging and supporting the students. There are many do's are here. Okay, there are many do's are here. We can look at, right? Providing, offering advice, providing direction of research. The students, when they come in, of course, they will not have the true understanding of the research area. The direction could be missing. They are not sure which we where to go and all that. So we have to guide them, right? That's the guide's job. If we are going for traveling somewhere, we have a guide. You know what the guide does. He will show us every way. He will tell us and explain everything to us. So that's what supervisors are supposed to do. Setting milestone. The guide, if you are going to Langkawi, if you have a guide, he will tell you this place you have 30 minutes time. This place you have 1 hour time. So that's what supervisors are supposed to do. It's okay, you read 10 papers and I give you 1 month, after that you see me. And after they give you another 10 papers, okay, you read another 10 papers, then you come and see me. And once you have completed 40 papers of reading, you start writing chapter 2, okay? You see me in 3 months' time. So the milestone is given. And then you will be monitoring the progress, closely monitoring the students' progress. What is very important here is providing feedback. Not many supervisors will do that, okay? We have heard of many complaints from students, varieties of complaints. The most prominent complaint is about not getting feedback. They write a draft, pass it to the supervisors and wait for the feedback. No feedback is given. And they come to supervisors after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and supervisor, we show them many works. You see, I'm teaching this number of hours, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Sorry, I couldn't read it. So then we have to ask ourselves, then why should I take the student as supervisor? Once we accepted the student to be the supervisor, then we have to be ready to do the work that is supposed to be done. And when we are appointed as supervisors, the certain pointing is specified, the roles and responsibilities by Center of Graduate Studies. They will specify certain roles and responsibilities that is entrusted upon us. So a student coming and doing PhD with us, and they are entrusting us that we are going to provide the kind of services that are required, okay? And so we accept him, so we have responsibility to do it. Giving right time feedback is very important to keep a student motivated and keep going. And providing encouragement and support. I will have some more discussion later, okay? One point let me highlight here. When it comes to research supervision, is one-to-one knowledge transfer, one-to-one. Supervisor is transferring knowledge to the student. The same as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did to Sahabas. He was so open, flexible. Anytime, anybody can see him. That's how our Prophet was. Anyone from any race, any color, any age, any level in the society, at any time they wanted to see him, he was available. Supervisor, if you want to transfer the knowledge, we got to be, that kind of flexibility has to be there. If students need us, we got to be available. We got to be flexible, we got to be humble enough so that the students feel comfortable meeting us, talking to us, sharing his grievances, problems with us. So that kind of nature that we have to develop, because it's one-to-one knowledge transfer. Not many people try to understand that, Basically, students will learn whatever the supervisor given them the opportunity to learn. They will not learn more than that. It's all about articulating, creating the environment for the PhD students to learn from supervisors. It's one-to-one. The basic knowledge, the most of the knowledge they gain from PhD study is from supervisors. The rest, of course, they learn from other staff, academic staff of the university or from other universities. They may also learn many things from the peers who are doing PhD with them. But the core knowledge they learn from PhD study is definitely the supervisors. It's one-to-one. So we have our personality, we have to make it like that. Okay, so later I will also deep discussion on that. What kind of personality should we be as a supervisor? Now, in a productive supervision, there are a few points I hear which are very important. We got to have mutual respect. Some PhD scholars, sometimes they could be more experienced than us. sometimes they could be even more knowledgeable than us, because students are reading the latest papers when they do PhD. How many of us we read papers? I'm not going to put you in trouble by asking that question to you. Those of you are with me now. If I ask somebody, when did you read your last research paper? I think you'll be struggling to answer my question. Possibly the time we did PhD, that was the last time we read research papers. And once completed PhD, we never read research papers. Many of us. But the student, when they are doing the PhD, like we did, the students are reading hundreds of papers. I have one PhD student, she read 400 papers. In her references, she has 700, And when I ask about any paper, she can tell me what she read. So there could be students who could be even more knowledgeable than us in that area of research, okay? And there could be students older than you. I had mine. Still, I have one from Indonesia. She's about 6 years older than me, okay? And now I have 15 postdoctoral scholars doing postdoctoral study with me now. And I have one vice chancellor, a university vice chancellor doing postdoctoral with me. You can imagine, huh? And I have two professors from Bangladesh, two university leaders. They are not VC, but they are very influential professors in the country. So students, they are student, of course, PhD student, but I will never tell them PhD student, rather they are PhD scholar. Some of them are very experienced. They are an academic like us, and we have to respect them. Respect is reciprocal. By respecting people, we don't lose anything. Nothing to lose by respecting people, okay? If you respect people, people respect you. If we respect people, people respect us. It's reciprocal. So when we supervise PhD students, you have to keep that in mind, that they are academic like us, and that's why they are doing PhD. And one day they might be in a better career position than us. I have two of my students, now vice chancellor of two Malaysian universities, okay? I'm not going to mention this, okay? Which universities? One is a government university, a public university, one is a private university. Two of my own students, during their MBA time, I taught them. And they are now the vice chancellor of two universities in Malaysia. So that's what is going to happen to you. Some of your students may become in a greater heights in academic career than you or us, right? So we do have to have the mutual respect and understanding of expectations of each other. That I'm going to discuss later. When we meet the students for the first time, we have to tell the student clearly what do we expect from the students and what the students can expect from us. Okay, so that kind of discussion has to be done and agreed upon at the beginning of the first meeting. Shared commitment to the goals of the study and open communication. Communication, that's what I said, the given example of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was always open. He was always open to anyone and everyone at any time. Okay, so that kind of behavior you got to have if you want to become a productive supervisor. Is there anyone has any issue or any question you'd like to raise now before I proceed? Or like to share something? Anyone?
Ada soalan daripada ni, boleh cakap bahasa Melayu juga sebab Prof dia faham bahasa Melayu.
Yeah. Yes, I do understand bahasa, everything, but I'm shy to speak bahasa. I don't really speak much.
Ada soalan ke? Kalau tak ada soalan, kita boleh teruskan ceramah.
If you have a question or any queries or any addition, you are most welcome. Otherwise, I'll continue, okay? I would expect the session to be interactive. When Dr. Bibi invited me, I thought it's going to be a physical session. I would love to have that because in the physical session, you can do much more than the online sessions. So there could have been some exercises and all that. But of course, the Omicron is not that good now, even in Polish. Yes. Even my family, we just recovered last week. So I think everyone is getting it now. So, so online is fine. But still, I wanted to make it interactive. If you feel not comfortable speaking English, you can speak in Bahasa, no problem. All right. All right, let me continue then.
Okay.
A research journey is full of hurdles, full of hurdles. That's why PhD is known as, some people will call it permanent head damage. And some call it permanent hair damage. Many people will lose their hairs. Many people will have problem. I have one friend in USM, a Malaysian. She became psychic at the end of the PhD, and she was hospitalized for 3 years, on and off, going hospital for 3 years. I had a friend from Indonesia who is doing very well now. He was traumatic, and he suffered about 5 years. 5 years. He was not able to drive 5 years. His PhD Viva Voce session at the School of Management USM was 5 hours long. And he couldn't take it, and he failed in the first Viva. And then only after that, he came to see me in Perlis. He stayed in my house for 3 days. I helped him to sail through. He passed later on. But 5 years, he couldn't drive. Okay, 5 years, he couldn't drive. So those of us who have done our PhD, we know how it is. I'm very sure those of you are sitting with me have completed PhD. At some point of time during your journey, you thought you do not want to continue. I'm very sure you will agree with me. I have thought many times of giving up. I thought it's not for me. I can't do it. I want to stop here. And that's why the dropout rate in the PhD program is about 50% worldwide. Okay, so they're full of hurdles. So as a supervisor, we have to be ready to rescue the student when the student is in trouble. That one you have to keep in mind. We know that we are taking a student, and the students will go through a lot of adventures, and he's going to have a lot of hurdles and barriers. And we are there because we are facilitator, we are role model, we are teacher, we are supervisor, we are guide. So we're supposed to help them to sail through. Okay. So definitely, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations, right? When we attend the final Viva session, I have not seen any session where the student did not cry after the final Viva session. Either the cry of joy or the cry of sorrows, right? Everybody cries. I'm very sure Dr. Bibi also cried after finishing final Viva session. This is very normal. This is very normal. Because why? Because we have gone through so much of trouble and problems and difficulties and barriers. Most of us, we had our families when we did our PhD. Managing family, managing kids, and all that, and yet we have to stay healthy and strong, and we continue the journey, we finish it off. So, but at the end, when we finish it, we really like it, right? Something become delighting, something become exciting for the whole family, not only for us, for the whole family, even for relatives and friends. Everybody enjoy the success once you complete the PhD, okay? But nothing in the world will come that easy. Everything that we get in the world, nothing is free. A lot of hard work, full of hard work. Perspiration, inspiration comes together. That's only we get something, and that's what we enjoy when we get after that, okay? This is something I really like. This lady from South Africa, she said, if I'm not good to myself, how can I expect anyone else to be good to me? The inner meaning of this is, we have to do a justice on us. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, He has given us many good things in us. Some of us are very good looking. Some of us are very good in speaking. Some of us are having very good intellect. Some of us are very, very talented. Some of us have, certain skills and knowledge and equipment that others don't have. But of course, every one of us is given some kind of very special gift in us when we are born. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done that. So when we do that, we have to do justice on us. We have to identify, explore, and find out what is that special thing that you have. Focus on it, okay? And then only we consider others, right? Even that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also taught us, right? Save yourself from hellfire and then only help others, right? So we have to develop ours. So the point that I want to make is, if I want to supervise a student, then I have to make myself qualified, competent. Okay. When I attend many of the PhD final viva sessions, I do attend many of Malaysian universities as external examiners. In some sessions, I pity the examiners because they will ask questions from chapter 1 to 3. Chapter 4, 5, no questions. Because they say, I'm sorry, I'm not good in this software, so I cannot ask any question. Then I will tell myself, then you should not have accepted to be an examiner then. PhD is not given based on chapter 1 to 3. PhD is given based on chapter 4 and 5, right? PhD is given based on chapter 4 and 5. This is your work, original work. Chapter 1 to 3 is all compilation from people's work. Okay, you get motivation from people, find out the research area, then you develop your framework. You collect the data also following the same as people did. So chapter 4 become yours, completely yours. So that's where you use the, when you look at robustness of data analysis, appropriateness of statistics and all that. So as a supervisor, we have no choice. We have no choice. We have no choice. We have to learn certain softwares that is useful in our area. If it is management marketing, then now PLS is a must. We have to learn it. It's not something difficult. It's not something difficult. It was SPSS before, but if you learn SPSS first and then PLS, learning PLS will be fun if you know SPSS. If you are in qualitative research, like I think Dr. Bibi has done, then it's in vivo. It's in vivo. Atlas T would be another one, but in vivo would be more friendly. If you are doing research in economics and finance, accounting, then it's this data. You have to learn. There's no other choice. If as a supervisor, I do not know the software, how do I guide the student? So what will happen if we supervisors do not learn the software? We will ask the student, go and outsource. So the student, what will they do? They will find somebody, they will pay the person, and they will do the analysis, write up chapter 4 for them, and they will come and give it to you. That's what will happen. But if you know the software, you will somehow force the student. You will force the student to make sure they do their own analysis. The students, when they do PhD, they have to learn the software. They should learn the software. So depending on us, if supervisor knows the software, the supervisor will guide the students. Oh, you got to learn the software. You have to send the students to workshops where the softwares are being taught. Okay, the student must learn, and before that we have to learn. And with internet is available, YouTube channel. Even if you follow my YouTube channel now, you can easily learn SPSS. I have, I think, 3 videos there, and I'm going to pick up, put up another 5. If you follow these 8 videos, it will be sufficient to learn SPSS. Just following my YouTube channel, Platform for Research and Development. And also, we have written a book on its data. I guess many students will be doing research on Islamic banking and finance. So you might be using this data, panel data and all that. We have written a book on its data. Very, very simple, easy-going guidebook written and published by University of Malaysia, Perlis Press. It's very cheap also. You can buy. It is available in Lazada and Shopee also. Even if you follow that book line by, just page by page, you just follow the guideline, you can learn the software. Not that difficult. So we have to somehow learn the softwares. Okay, we have to learn the software that is useful, relevant to my area. I should master it so that it will be easier for me to supervise. Because remember, we are the role model for the student. The student will follow us. So if you learn, the student will learn. If you don't learn, the student will not learn. That's how it is, okay, in the practical world. This is how the world is, okay. Most of us, we love to stay in the comfort zone. Okay, we feel safe as we do things as we do every day. Okay, comfort zone. You may get PhD students like that. He will come and talk to you, you give him work, he go back and he doesn't really do much. He doesn't want to take extra steps, walking extra miles, he will not do. Putting extra efforts, what is expected. So once you leave the comfort zone, you are in the fear zone, okay? So you get affected by opinion of people, you start finding excuses. I have students, with me, registered for 2 years, with me now, currently. 2 years, she did not do anything. And she never communicates even with me. It's me who is communicating every month. And every month she is going to give excuses. Okay? So that's the fear zone. So she doesn't feel comfortable of leaving the comfort zone. So coming into fear zone, finding excuses, having lack of confidence. I got another student now, 3 years already in the PhD program, has not defended the proposal. He is lacking the confidence. He'll always tell me, Prof, I'm so sorry. I have read many papers, but I do not know what to do. I said, then everyone can do what you can do. You are an associate professor of university, but some of my students are just lecturer of university. They can do it within a year. Why you can't do it in 3 years? So they have excuses. They are in the fear zone, already reaching at the point like they'll be dropping out from PhD program. Okay. So if the student can cross the fear zone, that's where they will be learning zone. That's what we want PhD students to be. Okay, learning zone. That's where they will be dealing with the challenges and problems by themselves. They face anything, they will cross that. If they cannot cross, they'll come and consult with supervisors. 6 suggestions, advices. How can I solve this problem? Okay, how can I overcome these challenges and all that? Okay, they will start learning more and more, gaining knowledge and experience, skills, and they will expand the comfort zone. So even this zone, they will become like more comfortable, learning more and more. Remember when you published first paper, I don't know how, I think most of you have the same experience. When I published my first paper, I was rejected by 4 or 5 journals. And when I see the list of corrections given, I was so demotivated. 3-4 pages long list of corrections. That was the first paper that I published. So it took me a long time, getting rejected from 5-6 journals and getting so many corrections. But I was not demotivated. I was following the list of corrections and doing the correction. Finally, I got it published. But once you publish one paper, you feel like, motivated. Okay, I got one published now. And then you publish one, then you publish 10, you publish 20. So when you publish 30, 40, it becomes like comfort zone already. It's no more fear zone, no more a learning zone. It becomes a comfort zone already. Okay, so you start publishing more and more. You feel enjoying. The more papers come in and you add on in CV and you feel delighted. Even my stage now, even when I get a paper published, I feel, delighted, and I'll be just adding in the CV at the time it is published. Alhamdulillah, I now my latest publication is up to 151 journals. And last year, 2021, I managed to publish 10 papers. One of them is Q1, 3 Q2, 3 Q3. The rest of them are Q4. Okay. So these papers are not written by me. None of them are written by me. All papers are written by my PhD students or postdoctoral scholars. Okay. So that is the benefits of supervision of students. Students may not have published any paper before, but slowly we'll guide them. We'll guide them and we bring them, a paper, we edit them and we help them to find the journals. We have them to publish. So it comes to our CV, right? You are the second author. The students is the main author. You are the second author. And when you look at second author, we know you are the supervisor. Credit is given there that you are the supervisor. So once you cross the learning zone, that's where we are going there, right? We are in the growth zone now. We started achieving objectives. We are setting new goals and achieving them. We're finding our purpose of life. We're making dreams into reality. We become self-confident. We started believing ourselves and all that. So if you are an academic, of course, if you are a lecturer today, definitely you won't retire as a lecturer. Everyone must have a dream to retire as a professor. So if you want to become a professor, you need a student supervise. If you are going to write a paper, how many papers can you write in a year? Possibly 1 or 2, not more than that. Doing a research, completing it, it takes even 2 to 3 years if you are getting a FRGS grant. So for that grant research, you can only publish 2-3 papers, meaning 1 year, 1 paper. So to multiply paper, getting more papers, definitely it comes from the students. That's the benefit of supervising students. If we are good supervisors, we should be able to get many papers from students. We'll teach students how to write paper. We'll teach students how to multiply the publications. And then it added to our CV and all that. We start enjoying supervision and publications and all that. Okay, so this is the one we have to look at. Now, this is another important point that I would like to bring to your attention. This is from Forbes, world famous magazine, right? They had a cover story in the cover page in November 12, 2007. They said Nokia 1 billion customer. Can anyone catch the cell phone king? That was their caption, 2007. But then 2010, Nokia was already out of the market, right? And now our kids will not even know what is Nokia all about. Nokia had said, see, they were the cell phone king, nobody knew. So when you are accepting PhD students, please make sure you have them to choose a topic that is going to be sustainable, updated topic, okay? Now with fourth industrial revolution, technology advancement and all that with COVID plus the COVID, we have to choose an area of our PhD research that is going to sustain in next 10, 15 years. At least people can still benefit from our research. So when you are supervising, people, please keep that in mind, that the student's topic should be updated or not very outdated one, okay? These are the common complaints that we get from examiners when it comes to students, okay? And I think we all have gone through that, Dr. Bibi, right? Examiners used to tell us your topic is not broad, it's not focused. Your issues are not highlighted enough. Very common complaint. No real question, position, or sense of purpose. Clumps of information roughly sorted into categories. That's common complaint in the literacy review chapter. Inappropriate sources, no clear sense of voice, and disorganized ideas. These are the very common complaint that we get from examiners in the Viva positions. And as a student, when I did my PhD, these are the common complaint I get my supervisors. When I've given them the draft, they will tell me, where are the issues leading to the problem? What are the issues? What are the new things? What a new contribution you're going to make? What is different from, the other works that you have read? These are the very common questions that we get. And as supervisors, we have to be very inquisitive. We have to be very critical by looking at, reading, reviewing, analyzing a student's draft, and finding out, a piece of work that will make the thesis very different, very special, okay? This is another slide that I actually like a lot. I got it from the social media. Expectation of supervisors. A PhD student should contribute to new knowledge, but it doesn't mean that you want students to produce apple, oranges, and bananas all in one tree. You don't want that. Sometimes supervisors have a lot of expectations which are not realistic. Sometimes examiners will talk a lot and also not realistic. We got to be realistic. And we as supervisors, we got to be realistic, and we have to teach the students to be realistic when doing research. There are students will come and see us with certain topics. I would say, no, this is too broad. Then the student will start arguing, Prof, this is only once I'm going to do PhD in my life. I say, no, with one PhD, you are not going to change the world. It's just a PhD. PhD degree is just certifying you are a professional researcher now, nothing more than that. You are just a professional researcher. That's about PhD. But you have to, on the course of it, you have to produce something new. You have to introduce something new in the body of knowledge. So what could be new? If you are planting an apple tree, you will still produce apple. Maybe the size of apple will be bigger. Maybe the taste of the apple will be different. Maybe the volume, quantity of apple will be more. That's what we expect from a research. So you are doing a research, hundreds of people have done research in the same area, and you will come and question us even, how can I find something new? Right? So that's why we find something new. The same area, yet we do research. And we don't expect you to produce oranges from an apple tree. We don't expect you, the students, to produce bananas from an apple tree, okay? So our expectation got to be very right from the very beginning, okay, as supervisors. This is how it works, right? PhD supervisors, they become role players, right? Students fall in between the supervisors and the faculty, as well as the CGS, right? The Center for Graduate Studies. I'm not sure what is the name at QUIP. I think PPS or something like that. Pusat Pengazian Siswaja, right? Something like that in almost every universities. So there are certain rules, regulations are there by PPS or CGS that the student got to follow. The certain expectations are there from the faculty, the student got to follow. And then the student's supervisor has expectations. The students in falling in between the three, the student got to match it. And we have to teach the student that from the very beginning. We have to introduce to students what are the expectations from the university, that is CGS or PPS, and what are the expectations from the faculty. Like at my faculty, the focus is on innovation, technopreneurship. So whatever thesis they do, we expect certain element of innovation or technopreneurship there. I'm very sure in QUIP, the expectation would be some elements of Islamic values should be there, right? Some elements of Islamic values, ethics should be there in thesis. So they do management research or marketing research, whatever, is still some kind of Islamic input should be there. So that is the university expectation. Then the faculty expectation will be something else, right? It's a business, something like business related things. And then you will have supervisor. Supervisor has his own specialty, his own expertise. He will have his own expectation. The students will fall in between. It is the supervisor who has to play the role to make sure the students are aware, the students are familiar with the rules, regulations of CGS, the expectation of the faculty, and your expectation comes together. That will make the student familiar and be comfortable in their journey. This is from Dr. Duncan. It's very familiar guy, right, in research. And he put it, the 6 phases in postgraduate supervision. Can I go ahead with another 15 minutes? Then I will give a short break. Is that okay?
Okay, Prof. Okay.
All right. So these are the 6 phases proposed by Duncan, starting with application process, maintaining and developing relationship with the supervisor. Then you're developing the research work. You are developing professionalism, and then you're completing a thesis, and then also you're looking at career. So this one, I'm not going to go through much. I will leave it for your own reading later, okay? Now let us look at the role of supervisor in general. Supervisor should be able to guide the student at every stage. At every stage. That's what I meant earlier. The supervisor should learn the software. Even when the students analyze the data, we should be able to guide them. Imagine that if I do not know the software and the students has written chapter 4 and give it to me to review, can I review the draft? It would be impossible. How do I know whether the students have interpreted the findings correctly or not if I do not know, not familiar with the software? Okay, so that's a very important point. We should be able to guide the students at every stage, from the beginning until the final viva voce sessions, including how to prepare the PowerPoint slide for the final viva voce session, including the kind of questions may be asked during final viva voce sessions. So every stages, we have to train the students, okay? So formulation of the study, establishing the method, discussing the results, presentation in seminar symposiums. That's how we make students proficient and ready for final viva voce sessions, right? We should be always encouraging students to attend seminar, workshop, webinars, conferences, all that. Helping students, encouraging students to publish articles, and of course, the writing of the thesis, okay? When I started doing my PhD, I was not told by anyone, but somehow I wrote a concept paper based on my chapter 1 and 2. So I wrote a concept paper and I managed to get it published. So when I started supervising, then I made all of my students to write a concept paper. So when the students are ready with chapter 1 to 3, they can easily write a concept paper. This is a concept paper. But we have to be very careful. We have to tell the students not to reveal the full model in the concept paper. Why? Because if a student reveals his full model, somebody may adopt his model and do a study and publish before him. Then he is dead. He got nothing new in his research anymore. Okay, so that point is very critical. Please keep in mind as supervisor. We have to ask the students to write the concept paper, but not revealing the full model, his own model, that is, he's going to study in the PhD research. Okay, so there are many roles. I'm going to go slowly, one by one. Okay, Roles in proposal writing. That's how it starts, right? The proposal defines the first hurdle. And sometimes we call it tumbling block. If a student defended proposal, we know that the student is going to finish the PhD. That's the first stumbling block. Is over meaning sometimes personally, I would feel 70% is done if the student has defended proposal successfully. The way we do it at UNIMAP, because here is chapter 1 to 3 is the final one. Should be defended in the proposal defense. But there are universities, proposal defense is not that formal. They have to just present ideas of research. Okay, for that case, it's different. Okay, but here is different, right? In our university is different. Here is chapter 1 to 3, final one should be defended in the proposal defense. Okay, so supervisor should assist students in selection or planning of a suitable and manageable research topic. Students will write a research proposal before they apply for a PhD program or master's by research program. And that time they may have read only 5 papers or 10 papers at best. And with that, they have written a proposal. That proposal was just for getting admission, offer letter, and getting admitted. And once they get admitted, then that proposal is nothing. They have to start from the scratch. Okay, so you have to tell students, okay, that's how I do. For myself, I'll tell students, okay, read 10 papers and then come and see me. So after reading 10, they will come and see me and I'll ask them, what did you find? What did you read? And they have to start talking. And they have to tell me what are the theories they identified, and they have to start debating with me. So that's how we develop the students. So by doing that, slowly we develop or find out the right researchable, good researchable topic for their research. I'm not sure how many of you had your research proposal, the one you submitted during the application process, sustained. My topic, the one I proposed during the application process, did not sustain. I changed after 3 months, and then I changed after 6 months, and then I changed after 9 months, So after 9 months, the topic became final. So it took me 9 months to finalize the topic, but that 9 months was not wasted because I was reading papers, I was reviewing literature, I was reviewing theories related to it. So all were helpful. But to finalize the title, it took me 9 months. And it will be surprised to know, after my final viva voce, I changed my title again. Because one of the professors asked me, Aminul, can you look at whether your title reflects the findings or not? Final findings. So I take his word and I started reading 4 and 5. And I found out actually the title that I had and passed in the final viva voce session is not reflected of my findings. So I told my supervisor I would like to change the title a bit. So that in Professor Dr. Rohani, she asked me what kind of topic you want now. So I proposed to her, she said, yeah, it looks better. So even we changed the title after final viva voce session. Okay. So title is something you don't have to worry about when students coming in. What you have to worry about is the research topic, research area. Finding out a good researchable topic. Okay. Sometimes students will come with a topic and you will find that literature is not available at all. And students will come after 2 months and say, Prof, I cannot find many papers. So students already wasted 2 months. So at the beginning, supervisor, we have to help them to make sure that they do not really waste time. A researchable topic, okay? Something will contribute to the society, something that solves kind of problem that is existed in the society, okay? The supervisor also should be sufficiently familiar with the field of study. And that's what you do. When a student apply, we'll appoint supervisor based on the field of expertise. Okay, field of expertise. So there are 2 ways of looking at it. One is content, other one is methodology. Sometimes we may appoint someone as main supervisor who is good in methodology, but not good in content. In that case, there must be a very good one who is good in content as co-supervisor. But preferably, we'll put somebody as main supervisor who is a content specialist. And methodology expertise has come as co-supervisor. Okay, so somebody must be familiar with the research area. Otherwise, how are you going to guide? Remember, we are a guide, right? So if you are going to Langkawi and you get somebody as guide and he has never been in a Langkawi, can he get you through the Langkawi? No, right? So the students should be given to somebody who has walked through that area of research, who has done some kind of research, published 3 papers in that area. Then should be the student given to him. then only he would be able to show him the path and the goals and all that. Like this, the example, the easy example that I've given you. If you get somebody who has never been in Langkawi and take him a guide, he will be in serious trouble. The students will be having the same problem. Once I was an external examiner with MMU, Multimedia University. I used to be quite frequent there. And there was a Viva session, and I pitied the student. The student couldn't really answer much of the questions. And the thesis, nothing was right. Almost everything is wrong, you know. But myself, I have never failed any students in my career until now. I've never failed any student. I did not want to fail him because I understood that the supervisor did not supervise him. The supervisor may not have even read his draft. That's how it was. So once the Viva is over, I gave him a major correction because I was the external. So I have more authority compared to internal examiner. So I gave him major correction. But then after that, I said, can I have lunch with you? So I invited him for a lunch. Then I sat in a restaurant in MMU. And during the lunch, I asked him, brother, he was from Yemen. I asked, brother, can you tell me something? Did your supervisor have ever read your thesis? So you know what he did? He kept quiet. He put his head down and he doesn't want to say anything. So I say, okay, I understood. It's not a problem at all. You do the correction based on the list I've given you. If you need to see me, you can communicate with me, no problem. I'll help you to correct it. So there are cases like that also. Supervisor may not read the thesis at all. I'm very sure none of us want to become like that. In teaching profession, students can only remember two groups of people, the best and the worst. If you remember, if I ask you, how many of your gurus or chegus you remember from Sekolah Kebangsaan? You may remember only 2, 3, 5, not everyone. You know, the best one and the worst one. Even if you say SMK or universities when you study. My first degree is from UIA. I remember two the most. One was the best. He was from UK, Aziz Anwar. His teaching style was best to me compared to all that I have ever seen. And I tried to follow his style. He still couldn't cope with his style. I was such a beautiful style of teaching. You learn everything during the class. You don't have to go back to the hostel and read again. That's how he used to teach. And I remember another one, the worst one. He will come to the classroom, he'll talk to the whiteboard, he goes back. We ask him question, he said, I don't know. That was his reply, you know, during the class. So if I remember UIA, I remember these two guys most prominently. I remember many other lecturers who taught me, but these two are the very prominent, the best one and the worst one. See, students will only remember these two, my brothers and sisters. Let's be the best one, so that the student can remember until the rust bed and they pray for us. Supervisor-supervisor relationship is a lifelong relationship. If you do a good job, they will continuously pray for you. They will continuously pray for you. It is sadaqah jariyah to somebody's career, and it continues forever. All right. So we have to be very familiar in the area, and we have to be able to guide. We should not accept students if you're not comfortable in the area of research. Okay. The third one, the student should assume the leading role in writing. That is very important. Huh? Supervisor do not write the thesis. It is student. It is the student's job. It is the student's research. It is independent research. Students has to take the leadership. He has to find papers. He has to read papers. He has to summarize, and he has to come and see you for assistance if anything wrong. When he's writing a draft, he has to write the draft, and then he has to come back to you, and then you have to help him to review. But it's not your job to write. It's not your job to run the data for him. It's not your job to interpret the data for him. He has to do it first. And after that, we help them to fine tune, okay, and edit and all that. Roles in research and progress reporting, okay. Participants, those of you are there with me, brothers, sisters. I did not divide the do's and don'ts, okay. My presentation is prepared in a way, these are mixed, okay. So I will prepare there. It's very difficult to list down, these are the do's and these are the don'ts, right? So I will have very comprehensive discussion and presentation from there, you can definitely pick up the do's and don'ts, okay? Roles in research and progress reporting. The students expected to assume control and responsibility of the whole research, not supervisor, not supervisor. Supervisor, we have many other jobs. We have teaching, we have our own research, we have many other students to supervise, we have many other areas of research, okay? So students has to take the control and leadership responsibility of his own research. Number two, the supervisor should be accessible for consultation and discussion. How frequently a student can meet you? To me, a student should be given opportunity to meet you once in 2 weeks, enough. Once in 2 weeks. But I had a student before. There was a student from Jordan doing very well now, become associate dean of a faculty now. Oh, she was very demanding. She wants to see me almost every day. And I used to get, disturbed sometimes because I got so many other things to do. I got so many other students to help. And she wants to meet me every day. And then when she messages me, I'll say, okay, see me after half an hour. And if it happens that I'm somewhere and she's waiting for me for half an hour, when I come back, see her face is totally different. Because she's very sad because I'm late for 30 minutes. Can you imagine the student's behavior? So that kind of demanding students could be also there, okay? But we should be available for consultation and discussion. Consultation and discussion, please mind the two words, consultation and discussion. Students should be given enough time. We should be able to give them at least half an hour in every meeting. In some cases, even 1 hour, depending on the stages of the PhD research, okay? But at least once in 2 weeks. Once in 2 weeks, if it's a full-time student. So part-time student, at least once a month, be it physical or be it online. That should be there, okay? The supervisor should meet the student one-on-one in conducive environment. My office, I do have a whiteboard pasted on the wall. My new office here, I didn't post it yet. I used to bring students and say, okay, you have read 10 papers, do a presentation. So I let them stand with the whiteboard and do the presentation based on the 10 papers. That is something very good because you are providing him an opportunity to practice the presentation and coming out with ideas and expressing the ideas that he have. Okay, but again, you got to be very mindful. Like for example, my office, if you come at any time, my door is wide open. And many of the students will come in and say, can I close? So I said, no, keep it open. I had experiences before with the PhD student, not very good. They'll come in front of me and especially I'm a guy and then the student is a female. And after some time, the student start crying, having problem and he start crying. This is very common. I don't know whether Dr. Bibi has cried when she was doing research. But this is very common. So now how do you feel? I am a guy sitting in the office and in front of me is a female student, she's crying. If somebody sees it from outside through the glass, they might feel that I must have done something wrong with her. That's why she's crying. But that is not the truth. Because she's struggling, she has problem and she couldn't progress and she feel emotional and she's crying. So the condition, the environment got to be very conducive. So what I do, I keep the door open always, right? And also in Islam, one male cannot be sitting with the female in a closed door, right? The third person would be shaitan. That is according to hadith, right? If one guy and girl is there, the third person will be shaitan, right? So if I'm having a student with me, definitely I want to keep the door open. Okay, so I keep my door open. Then we have discussions. And some cases like there was a student I supervised. She was not married. For a guy, there are two cases are very challenging to supervise. I find it very challenging. One is those not married but quite old. Very difficult to manage them. The other one is the divorced girl. I find it very tough to supervise, where they are very emotional, very sensitive. Okay, so the two that I had, very challenging to supervise. One I managed to later complete, the other one couldn't complete. The one was divorced, she couldn't complete, was so emotional and so sensitive. At the end, she gave up. Okay, so as a supervisor, you have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for that. It's all one-to-one discussion, one-to-one relationship, working closely with you, and yet there must be some barriers in relationship. At USM, there is a written rule there, unwritten rule there. There should not be any physical touch. There's a rule in USM. So if I am a guy supervisor and my student is a female, I should not have any physical touch with her, right? And if you are a lady and you have a student is a boy, definitely you shouldn't have a physical touch in no way. There is a rule, unwritten rule at USM. Because sometimes supervisors might be traveling with the student, attending conferences and all that. There are many accidents are there, okay? Broken families due to PhD journey, student relationship with supervisors, and many things are there, which we have to keep in mind, okay, while we supervise the student. Okay, this would be my last slide before I go for a break. All right, I do not want to bombard you with too many ideas and things, okay? Supervisor also should ensure that research environment is safe, healthy, and free from harassment, discrimination, and conflict. Supervisors, we are role model. Remember, you are like a father figure, you know. Like one of my students always said that you are my father, you are my brother, you are my friend. So you have to be like that. To sometimes you have to act like a father or mother. Sometimes you have to act like a brother or sister. Sometimes you have to act like a friend. That what makes it a conducive environment for a student to do a PhD journey. I have a case. I think you won't mind to tell you this. There was a case. Students used to come and complain to me. Every time he or she goes to the supervisor, supervisor will read 3-4 pages and then stand up and start scolding and shouting at the student. And then after every meeting, the student will come to my office and start crying. I said, why, Prof, again happened? I said, what happened? Oh, the supervisor started shouting at me, screaming at me. So the supervisor is like, he wants perfect job. Everything you give him should be perfect. How can you expect perfect job from his students? He's just learning. This is the first time he's writing a draft. So a draft, like for me, when I wrote my research problem, I still remember, I will never forget that. The final draft that was approved by my supervisor was 17 drafts, 17. Meaning that I was asked to edit and write 17 times before the supervisor was happy with my draft. Can you imagine the passion the supervisor had, that Professor Ruhani Ali, who supervised me. 17 times I was asked to write the research problem. So supervisor has to be like that. We cannot expect a perfect job at the first draft. Okay, so if you expect the perfect job, then he is not a PhD student. He should be a supervisor, right? Even as we supervisor, when we write paper, do we write perfect draft in the first draft? No, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Only that after that it become a perfect draft. So we got to be very careful. We should not be harassing students. We should not be getting conflict with the student. We should not discriminate based on the nationality or the race or the color or whatever. We got to be very careful. We have to ensure that, okay? Compliance with the university requirements. Different university have different requirements. There was a student in ICOM. If you're from Minimap, you would know. ICOM, we had a department before, School of New Media and Communication. So the student came to see me after 4 years of her study, and she was having a lot of problem with supervisors. So she came to see me, even though I'm a different faculty, different school. But it's okay, I welcome her. Then I look at her thesis. I say, okay, your first draft is the final draft, the first draft is ready. I said, did you publish any paper? I said, no. I said, did supervisor tell you anything about the publication? She said, no. I said, then how are you going to submit the thesis? Because at Unimap, the requirement is 10 points. 10 points. If you publish one ISI, 8 points. A conference, 2 points. So 10 points. Enough. If you publish in the Scopus journal, 7 points. So if you publish journal, 5.5 points, 10 points. Meaning the student has to publish minimum 2 papers. So I'm not sure what is the criteria at QUIP. I'm not sure. Maybe later I will know from you. So the student, after 4 years, the supervisor did not tell her that she has to write papers and publish. Okay, so this is our job as supervisor, knowing all details, what fulfills the criteria for a student to get a PhD. So the student need to publish paper. We have to help the student to publish the paper. and it has to be trained and told from the very beginning. Okay, so university requirement should be fulfilled. All right. So with this slide, I want to take a break and also give you a break. But before giving a break, I would be very happy to get 1 or 2 questions or some feedback from you. Would be very good. All right. So I will open the floor for the participants now.
Okay, do you have any question to Prof. Dr. Aminul?
Yes, I have a question, please.
If you can
Okay.
switch on the camera, would be very good. At least I can see you.
Dr. Syabuddin, silakan.
If you don't mind. If it's okay.
Alhamdulillah, I can't on my camera, Prof, because I'm driving now.
Okay, no problem, brother. Please continue asking. Please go ahead with the question.
Yes, congratulations, Dr. Bibi, for this good session for WIP. And then my question, Prof, is about on the ethical issues during supervising and the candidate as well. So could you touch on this ethical along the way for the PhD journey from the beginning on the ethicals? Thank you, Prof.
All right. Dr. Shahabuddin, thank you. At least somebody started speaking up, so I'm happy. I would expect everyone to speak later, inshallah. Once I go through the full session. This is part and parcel of supervision, the ethical parts, are the most crucial, most important parts. And I think I have already explained few ethical parts already. I have given example of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as role model, as a supervisor. He was the best teacher, the greatest teachers on earth. And I said he was available for everyone. Male or female, everybody has access to him. And we know from the Sunnah how he behaved with people, the way he does things and all that. Those are the ethical guidelines that we should follow, all right? And I have mentioned few very specific things in this slide also, talking about not discriminating, not harassing, not getting conflict with the students, not getting any physical touch with the students, keeping a certain distance that is expected from supervisors with the students. A few things that I have also already mentioned, all right? The other parts that I did not mention yet, I thought I will cover later. That would be during the data collection process and data analysis process. A lot of unethical issues are there. I found many students did not distribute questionnaire. They just made up the data. There are cases like that. I even found students distributed like 100 and collected 100, and then they made up another 100. There are also cases there. There are supervisors telling students, "Ola, don't have to distribute, just make up the data." I have cases also like that. I have also cases, the student came to see me and told me, "Prof, I want to see my supervisors." And supervisors say, "You don't have to really do a very good research. PhD, just do it, finish it off. You can do research later." I said, "What did he ask you to do?" He said he gave me a PhD thesis, asked me to follow exactly what is done. He said he has done on this country context, do this in your country context. So the student was very unhappy. The student said, "No, I don't want to do it." But the supervisor was not very happy. I said, "No, you have to be very ethical. You are going to do PhD once in a lifetime. And you got to be very, very careful on that." Okay. So I said, start reading papers. Read 10 papers, 20 papers, 30, 40 papers. 40 papers reading enough for you to develop good understanding in the area. And develop some kind of model and go and see your supervisor. So he spent 3 months. He read about 40 papers. He summarized, he developed his own model. He discussed with me, then went to see the supervisor. At the beginning, supervisor was very angry with him. He said, "How come I advise you to follow this thesis? You didn't follow that?" So he didn't want to talk to him, So then the student arguing and showing the model, then so I said, "Oh, you did a lot of work. Oh, okay, this looks nice." Finally, he was convinced. So cases are there. So supervisor, on our side, if you are not ethical, how do we expect students to be ethical? I had a student came from Thailand, from Bangkok, contacted me saying that, "Prof, I have keyed in data in Excel or SPSS, but cannot export it in PLS, Smart PLS. Smart PLS is smart software." So he went to many people, nobody could help. So he came from Bangkok to see me in Perlis. Huh? He landed in Penang and then he came to Perlis to see me. He came to my office. I said, okay, open the data. I tried to export in PLS. I failed. So then I say, okay, let me look at your data. And when I look at the data, I found first 5 or 10 questions responses exactly same as 21. Say, for example, 1 to 10, similar to 30 to 40, and similar to 50 to 60. Meaning that the student did not distribute the question. He just created the data and he created few, copied and pasted. So I asked him, why is that happen? Did you distribute questionnaire? He said, I distributed. I said, please be truthful. Did you distribute questionnaire? He said, yes, I distribute. How did you distribute? He said, no, my father helped me to distribute. So I said, how come your response is like that? How can it be like that? 1 to 10, exactly same as, say, 30 to 40. So he put his head down, he was very shy. And he seek my permission to leave my office. And he left my office, okay? So the case is like that also, okay? And then when come to collection of data, you key in and you start running, and then you will find that out of 5 hypotheses, say for example, 4 are rejected, only 1 accepted. Cases are like that. So what are you going to do with that? Ethical practice is you distribute some more questionnaire, collect more data. And there are certain ethical methods available in the software. Use that, those experts, they can help you do that. But rather, a student will start massaging the data. I'm very sure those of you are good in software, you would know how to massage the data. If you bring a set of data and give it to me, and you tell me which are the hypotheses you want it to be accepted, I can do that. I can massage the data. If you say out of 5, prof, let me make it 4 accepted, I can do that. But is it ethical? It is not ethical, okay? Because when you publish paper, remember, your promotion will be based on your publication. So when you massage the data, you are distorting the findings. And this is not halal, right? So when your promotion is done on this distorted data publication paper, your income later, whole life, the income is not going to be halal, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiven you. Okay, so there are many areas of ethics involved in that, Dr. Shahabuddin. Along the way, when you supervise, we have to be very careful about that. Okay, so I think I have covered quite a wide area of ethical already. I'm not sure whether I have touched the kind of answers you are expecting, Dr. Shahabuddin.
Yes, thank you, Prof. Thank you. Answer my question.
I think we take one more question. If anyone has, Dr. Bibi, if one more would be good for participants. If one more question I get from you or any feedback, the presentation so far we had.
Ada lagi soalan daripada participant? Do we have any more question for Prof. Dr. Minor? Or maybe I can ask you a question. Or Dr.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Okay, thank you so much for the inputs that you gave before, especially when you discuss about the qualification of the supervisors themselves. However, I would like to ask about what should the supervisors or one of the supervisors do when there are some misunderstandings between supervisors, because sometimes a student have a group of supervisors mentoring him. So when there is misunderstanding either in the format or either in the content or even in the structure of the thesis itself, okay, how should you manage that kind of problem?
Well, I think it's very common. Students going to be with you for 3 years or more. There are bound to be some misunderstandings and conflict there. No one can avoid that. Okay, but as human being, being a guide, being a supervisor, advisor, role model, it is our job to make sure that the supervision is under control. There could be some misunderstanding. We have to, we cannot hold anything about the student. The student may do something bad, something wrong, but we cannot hold it inside. Our heart got to be very clean. We have to take students like you are nurturing a baby boy. You know, it's a nurturing a baby boy. A student has not done any research before, first time coming to see you and you wanted to do research. So definitely you are nursing someone. So take it like if you have a small baby at home, and almost every day our kids are many times, right? They will not behave the way we want them to behave. Sometimes they will engage in argument when they grow a bit older and all that. So we know how to deal with them. And when we are having a family, husband and wife, is there any husband or one wife in the world never have quarrel or never have misunderstanding? Never, right? We had. All of us, we had. Some point we have some misunderstanding. Sometimes we quarrel, we argue, but we manage them. So that's how we have to do it. Husbands will be taking control over the family. The husband has to sacrifice more to make sure the family is in harmony. The same goes to the supervisor-supervisor relationship. We have to be in control. And is there any conflict? Immediately we have to take into account, and we have to solve it before it becomes serious. Okay, brother?
Yeah, I got it. But what I meant is between supervisors for the same student.
Okay, the co-supervisor and main supervisor. This is something a very difficult question to answer. Academic, we are some kind of crazy people, you know, because all of us we feel I am the father of knowledge. Especially when somebody completed PhD, at the beginning they will be feeling like that. Oh, I'm somebody now. I'm the father of knowledge. So very difficult to argue with a person like that. But as you grow older, your mind will be different. You will be different. You'll be more humble, more helpful, and all that. I personally prefer always heart-to-heart talk. Works better. When there is a conflict between supervisor and co-supervisor, we should not let students get involved in this. We should talk, sit together and talk and settle it. Never listen to the students when it comes to relationship between co-supervisor and supervisor. A student is enough to destroy the relationship between co-supervisor and supervisor. Please do not allow gibot, right? In Arabic, we call it gibot, right? Backbiting. Do not allow that. Keep hold of that principle. If the student come and say, like, for example, for myself, I had a supervisor and co-supervisor. And when I submitted the draft, I meet the supervisor. Supervisor said, did the co-supervisor give you any feedback? Or when I meet the co-supervisor used to ask me, did the supervisor give you any feedback? You know? So I am there in between, you know. So the student is in between to make sure the relationship between supervisor and co-supervisor is very good. It is student who can destroy the relationship. So we have to be mindful. We follow Islamic principles in relationship, and then I think it will be good for us to avoid that. All right, Dr. Dia, is it? Dr. Dia Hafiz.
Yes, Prof.
Did I answer your question, brother?
Yeah, sure. But if you elaborate more
Yes.
situations, you give some examples of a good occasion, the situations that may occur. But if you can give more examples of the
Sure. I have 99 slides. There are many slides. Later I'll quickly go through because I've already spent 1.5 hours.
Yeah, I think then you should continue with the slides first. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. Dr. Bibi, can you take a short break? How many minutes break you want?
Maybe we can take a break about 10 minutes.
10 minutes, huh? All right.
So we will start our second session on 11:50 p.m.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
So, Prof, can we start our second session? Prof, Doktor? Tak apa, kita tunggu dulu sampai Prof masuk. Okay, Prof. So, start our second session now.
Sure.
Okay. Silakan.
Okay. Let me continue. The certain discussion I did at the beginning, so later sessions would be bit faster. Okay. The role of thesis writing. That's what the expectation of, especially the students from Middle East, should be there. They would expect you to read line by line and correct it. That is not our job. Okay, the student should be the primary writer of the thesis, and we are not the editor of the thesis. Okay, if they write, if the content-wise, if it is right, we can ask the students to find professional editor. Okay, proofreader to do the job, not the supervisor. It's not the supervisor's job. Okay, the rest, I don't think I'll go through this. Okay, this is very important. Supervisor should respond timely and thoroughly to the written work submitted by the student, with constructive suggestions, improvement, and continuation. You know, one of the fallacy of supervisor is this. I see many academic, when they become examiner, they will read line by line. There are a lot of comments. And then with the same person, when their student come to do the presentation, we see the supervisor did not really read. This is very common. This is very common. It should be other way around. We should be reading line by line of our student, our supervisor, because that is my responsibility, my task. Okay. Maybe because when come to external examinership, because we are given some kind of incentive, like in Malaysia, is about 800 to 900 ringgit. So you feel like I'm obliged to. But when it comes to thesis supervision, you have to take into account that my salary also coming partly because I'm supervising students. So we have to read line by line, and we have to give the constructive feedbacks for improvements of the thesis. Okay, we have to do that. The supervisor also should be able to ensure that the students' work meets the standard of the university and academic discipline. Okay, that's also supervisor's job, to make sure that minimum standard is being fulfilled. Okay, roles in seminar conferences, of course, as I said, once you student ready with chapter 1 to 3, we should help the students to write concept paper first, and we have to ask them to go to seminar symposiums. Some cases, even a student does not have paper, still we can encourage the student to participate, attend in conference, seminars, symposium, and all that. And now there are so many webinars are free, available on research methodology, data analysis, all that. We should always encourage. We come across of all that free one available, we can ask the student to attend. And some of these, those are very good ones. We can ask the student even to pay and attend. Would be good for them. This one I have mentioned. Talked about it a lot, right? So students' paper is actually our paper. This is supervisor paper. You are going to be credited, and we get a lot of assistance, right, in our promotion process and all that. Many universities like at UNIMAP, promotion is based on points. So the minimum, maximum points are allocated. For teaching, there is a fixed point. You cannot earn more than that. Maximum, like for professorship, when I applied, I was allowed to claim only 30 points. Even if I have 100, I can only claim 30. But when it comes to publication, unlimited. Unlimited. So I had supervision, unlimited. Okay, so most of the universities are like that. So more supervision you have, the more paper you have, the better. Okay, so we have to help the students. Students may not have published the paper, so we have to teach practically students how to write a paper. And then we have to edit, and we have to find good journal. The students may not have published paper before. So it is our job to find a good journal. And then number 3, if it's a requirement for the journal to be paid, then we have to arrange the payment for the student if the student is not financially well off. Currently, I am having a grant from an Indonesian university. They give me unlimited amount. They did not pay me, but the condition is I have to put 2 of their staff name in the paper, and they are willing to pay up to $500 per paper. So now you can imagine, for my students, the fee is there, up to 500 is there. So a student put his name first and my name second, and third and fourth coming from an Indonesian university. The fee is paid. Okay, and some universities does also pay. Some universities do also pay the publication fee. Like at INIMAP even now, if it is Q1, the university is willing to pay the publication fee now. Okay, so that's the third responsibility. We may have to arrange payments in case it's needed. If you want to go for non-pay journal, the publication process could be longer. Like one of my paper took about 2 years, 1.5 years to get published in MRL. Sometimes even it takes me 2 years to get it published. The non-pay journal, good journal, but it takes a bit longer. But PhD students cannot wait for that long. So in that case, if they want faster publication, so you may have to go for paid journal. In that case, you have to arrange the payment for them. Okay. This what was earlier Dr. Dia Hafiz, right? He was asking about the supervisory team, right? So that's what you have. You have a main supervisor, you have co-supervisor, and there could be always a situation whereby you get into conflict, but we have to find a way, being academic, educated people, we have to find a way to make sure we have good relationship during the supervision. The student should not be victimized in any way, okay? I know a case at UKM, the student failed 3 times, and finally he has to be out of the PhD program. It's because there was a conflict between internal examiner and the main supervisor. The main supervisor is a former dean, the internal examiner also a former dean. So it's a fight between dean against a dean. And the student was victimized. Yet in the first viva, failed, second viva, failed, third viva, the student communicated with me, say, Prof, please help. I said, this is not my area. So I arranged a professor from USM who become an expert. The university allowed expert examiner. Even that case also couldn't help because the internal examiner was so powerful. The student was victim, he failed. And so then he had to come to UVM to enroll again. After wasting 5 years, so he did another 3 years to do his PhD. Now he has completed his PhD. So cases like that are there. So human being, a very delicate things, right? Among the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Certain cases will have situation like that, you can't help. One of my students, Dr. Bimi may know, from Iraq, did a study on Sukuk, PhD. And now, last month we managed to get a book published on Sukuk, right? By Cambridge Scholar Publishing. We managed to get it published. That student was failed in the first final viva question by internal, not external. The external say, okay, major correction pass, but internal say, no, fail. So the chairman should be giving more weightage to the external, but unfortunately the chairman followed the internal, so fail. All right. So he came back of the office. I wanted to see what are the comments. He failed the students. So let us see the comments. Not much of comments are there. No reason to fail the students. We cannot find any comments that actually qualifies the student to fail. So he went for the second viva. Again, he was not happy. He failed the student. Final viva only 3 times, 3 viva. Can you imagine? As a PhD student going for 3 viva for no reason. The external say pass, but the internal wanted to fail. Was the thesis too bad? Definitely not. Now I told the student, okay, we go for a book. So we wrote a book. The first draft I wrote for him from his thesis. Then I told him, he just add on and we get it. It took us 3 years to get the book published, but it's published finally. And he has written about, I think, 17 papers, you have not mistaken, 17 papers from his PhD thesis. Now you tell me a student who can write 17 papers from his PhD thesis, he can publish a book. Should the student fail? So this is what happens sometimes. So as a supervisor, we have to be ready for that, because supervisors are not allowed to speak during the final viva session. You are just dumb. just sitting there. You are not allowed to speak anything. But you have to keep motivating student. The student was with me, and even I helped him financially. I had a grant. I helped him because he had 2 kids and he got no money to feed his the kids at home. I have to take care of that, and finally he finished. And now he's working in Oman, one of the Oman university. His salary is more than me now. He's drawing more salary than me in Oman. So things like that happens. One of my student, another student, he was asked to defend proposal defense for 3 times. And every time I come back to my office and review the comments given, not much of comments there, but as to, finally I understood that his model, we introduce antecedents and outcome variables. And that internal examiner doesn't lie. He doesn't believe in antecedent and outcome variable. That's why he was failing the student. So I told the student, okay, we drop outcome variable and antecedent variable. Then the internal examiner is happy. But he doesn't want to say it. So he may have this kind of situation. And as a supervisor, we have to learn to accept it and go ahead, keep motivating the students and working with the student and let him finish it off. So as a supervisor, we have to be like that to a certain point. Okay. Now, the relationship between student and supervisor changes over time. The first meeting is the most important meeting. That's where we'll talk to students, we'll talk heart to heart, we'll tell students, we'll try to understand the student's level. Like one of my students was from Iraq. The first time he came to see me, he couldn't say even a sentence in English. Not even a sentence, We accepted him. And he did few funny things, During Hari Raya, he sent me a card in Malay. It's like happy wedding anniversary. But that was his Hari Raya card sent to me, because he doesn't understand English, he doesn't understand Bahasa. So what can you do with that kind of a student? In the first meeting, I told him, go to Penang, enroll into an English language program for 6 months. You see me after 6 months. So he followed me. He went to Penang. He was under scholarship. He enrolled into an English language program. And he came back to see me after 6 months. Now he could speak. Okay. And then one day he invited me to his house. I went to his study room. I was shocked. The whole wall, every side, full of papers. He's writing. Every paper he writes, he summarizes and pastes it on the wall. And the whole room full of papers on the wall. Okay. So he was so hardworking. His English was so weak. He was an Arab background student. But because of hardworking in nature, he did it. So first meeting is very, very important meeting. You got to spell out exactly what you want from him. The timelines, the milestones, all that we said at the first meeting. And slowly it goes on that there will be a time where the students will take the ownership, right? That's what we say that 6 months to 36 months, the students should be taking the ownership. First 6 months only, you're closely supervising. After that, you will let him go with the journey because you have other students to talk to and focus, right? So during the journey, over time, the relationship will differ. This one, I think I have covered, so I'm not going to talk about. This is a survey result. A survey done on supervisors. Supervisors' view on students. Supervisors, the kind of characteristics encouraged in the student supervisor is you got to be enthusiastic, curious, open-minded, creative, and critical. The draft that we read, we got to be critical, we got to be open-minded, you got to be curious, inquisitive, asking questions and all that. Soon takes ownership of and responsibility for projects, right? Uses time effectively, regular meeting communication with supervisor. That's what we expect the students, right? Appreciate research doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes you may get a lot of output, sometimes you may not get output at all. I remember during my PhD time, sometimes in 1 week I produce a lot of things, sometimes 6 months even nothing. This is common. Sometimes a student in 3 months may not produce anything, but we should not be discouraged by that. But later on, you will find after 3 months of not doing anything, in 1 month produce a lot of things. So it depends. Idea doesn't come always. Students to some point will get stuck, and they will have to read papers. They have to consult with people. Then only they somehow cross that hurdle. So we have to be open on that. Okay. Some unhelpful characteristics that the student found with the supervisors. Students do not inform supervisors of progress. I'm having that now. Because of COVID, many students are living in their country and they are not updating me of the progress. I'm really having problem with that. Stuck on subordinate role and passive, reactive rather than proactive. They only do work when you ask them to do. They are not proactive. Things can write up in the last 6 months. Every 6 months, you expect some write up and correction and all that. You might find that it's not happening. And some students, even because of lack of motivations and intelligence, they might avoid interacting with the intellectual community. But PhD is an academic work. It's all about intellectuality. So they're supposed to be communicating not only with the supervisors. Supervisors should motivate students to talk to other academics available in the school or different universities. That's how they should be learning. Okay. So based on that survey, the ground rule should be supervisors should be available throughout the study. Okay, study period. Comment on written work within reasonable time or period of time. Provide access to appropriate equipment and advice. Okay. These are the survey of students. Okay. That supervisors would like to see the student as honest, somebody very enthusiastic, organized, helpful, different interests, approachable, and all that. And characteristic that they don't like is like showing they're too busy, forgetful, controlling, not commenting enough. Okay, not committing enough time, not finding out what they want from the PhD thesis. Okay, this is what students think of the supervisors. Okay. What do you do when things go wrong? The first thing is we should not be panicking, right? That's what I said. My student will fail 3 times in the proposal defense and once fail in the final via VOCEP or 2 times. So don't panic. Things are normal. It's just way of life. In our life, every day, the things we do, always things doesn't come positively. There are many negative things we go through, right? Seeking advice as soon as possible. Speaking to the supervisory team, speaking to institute directors and the other, elements. So this one, I think I will leave it for you. These are quite simple thing. I don't think I've already spoken most of it. This one also I have talked about already. Now, I will quickly go through this, and I will ask some of your opinion on how you do it, components of thesis or structure of a thesis. This is about background. I think you will read by yourself. Could be helpful for students also to go through. The most important part of chapter 1 is the statement of the problem, when you should be writing, and how you should be writing is there. And I have a few important slides here, which I would like you to go through. The most challenging task for a PhD student is to identify research gap. Research gap comes from many various ways. It may come from knowledge, it may come from methodology, it may come from industry. There are many different ways out there. I have a 3 hours video on identifying research gap in my YouTube channel. The webinar organized by UTM and Muta University, Jordan, and was participated by 2,800 people live. That the largest number of participants I ever had in one of my webinar, 2,800 from 46 countries. So that video is there, 3 hours long video. If you have time, you can listen to. Okay. So if students can answer these questions, then as a supervisor, we should be sure that the student already identified a good research gap. What is the significance of the research to my work for the broader field? How can this article help me formulate my research question? Does the author argument require more clarification? What issues question has author being not addressed? Is there a different perspective than I can consider? What other factors could have influenced the results? Are the methods or procedures used updated or no longer considered valid? So these are the questions that students got to ask themselves when they read research papers. Okay, it's because research gap is identified from 2 angles. One is literature gap, other one is the industrial gap, contextual gap. So literature gap, when it is identified and then you support it with the industrial gap, it becomes a research gap. Okay, and I have also a few questions here to confirm that students have identified a research problem. For example, like what is the issue or problem you want to study? What is the concern being addressed behind this study? Why do you want to undertake this study? Why is the study important to the scholarly community? If a student can answer these 4 questions, then I would say the student have already defined the research problem. Okay, if a student can answer these 7 questions, then we would understand the student have already identified research gap. If the student can answer this 4 questions, I would understand that the student have already got a good research problem to focus on. Okay. This one I don't think I'm going to speak. This is a controversial area. Sometimes many supervisors will stick to, if you have 5 research questions, you must have 5 objectives, which is not true. Okay. 2 research question can be answered. 2 research question can be answered with 1 research objective. Research objectives are broader. Okay. And 1 research question can be answered by 1 research object, depending on the nature of the study. So there is no hard and fast rule. And that's a question many times students will ask. Should I have number of objectives and questions should be similar? The answer is no. Okay, it depends on the kind of questions and objectives you have. Okay. Chapter 1, then you have chapter 2, chapter 3. This is common everywhere. Chapter 4, and then chapter 5. My question to you is, I want the participants to respond, please. Which chapter should the student write first? Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, literature. Chapter 3, methodology. Which chapter the student should write first? Or as a supervisor, which chapter would you ask them to write first? If you allow me, I want to call the name now, if you do not mind. Sister Nurul Kofifa. Sister Nurul, can you please answer? Which chapter will you ask the student to write first? Chapter 1 or chapter 2 or chapter 3? Sister Nurul, are you there? Possibly she is not there. Okay. Sister Amira Izati Omar, are you there? Which chapter would you ask? My question is very simple. Which chapter would you ask the student to write first? Sister Amira, are you there? Dr. Bibi, your colleagues do not want to talk to me.
Maybe malu ke, bro.
Dr. Mai Shahida, are you there? Dr. Mai Shahida?
Dr. Mai, come on, Dr. Mai. Please answer.
Yes, Prof, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Which chapter would you ask your student to write first?
In my opinion, I think it would be great if they try to start with chapter 2, literature review first. From there, they'll be able to find, after they do some readings, they will be able to find the gaps of the study, and they will go back to continue with chapter 1 to fill in the gaps of the study. That is my point of view, Prof.
Excellent, excellent. I would actually strongly agree with that. Definitely, the students should be writing chapter 2 first. But personally, I prefer chapter 2, then chapter 3, then come back to chapter 1. Then chapter 1 writing would be just fun. Everything already there. Like for me, I was asked to write chapter 1 first. And you can imagine how much sufferings I had. 17 times, how many times I wrote chapter 1. Still supervisors were not happy. Because every time I read a new paper, I change. Every time new paper, I change. Every time I read new paper, I change. So it should be chapter 2 first. Then chapter 3 possibly, then chapter 1. Or chapter 2 first, then 1, then 3. But I personally prefer chapter 2, then chapter 3, come back to chapter 1. Then a student will find it fun to write. Okay, very good. Thank you. At least I get somebody to respond to me. I thought Dr. Bibi's colleagues doesn't like me, so they don't want to respond to me.
No, like that, Prof. Okay. Do we still have any question about?
I think Ista is okay. Let me go through some other slides. Okay, this part I will just leave it. I will just leave it to you. The motivation, keeping a student motivated, and this one is prepared based on Maslow needs of hierarchy. Okay. Students have certain needs, right? We know there are 5 needs there, right? It started with very basic needs, and then followed by psychological needs and safety needs and self-esteem need, and finally self-actualization. Those of you who are teaching management, you will teach that. So this one, I will keep it for your reading, okay? I will keep it for your reading. But what I said here, that the relationship between students, which are probably the most conducive to motivation, are those who are founded on mutual trust, which I mentioned earlier, and cooperation, rather than suspicion and competition. Okay. I remember there was a student, one came to see me and said, Prof, I went to see my supervisor and I had a problem with him. I said, what is the problem? He said, I read a few papers completely new and I got some new ideas and I was talking to him. He doesn't want to agree on that. I said, Prof, this is based on papers. So I gave him the papers. I said, please read. And the supervisor stood up and asked the student, told the student, you a supervisor or me? So you have situation like that also. Okay, so that should not happen. That should not happen. As I said earlier, sometimes a student could be more proficient than us. They are reading the latest papers. We are not. So in some cases, we may learn from a student rather than we are teaching students always, right? So that one is a mutual respect must be there. Okay. Okay. When it comes to thesis, there are when it comes to teaching and learning, there are three parameters are there. One is content, other one is context, other one is participant. But it's more on teaching, but it's still in supervision. You got to be also careful on that. Okay, what to be learned and where and when learning to take place, and because in the PhD journey, when they start, definitely different stages, they got to learn different things. When a student come in and you tell the student go and write a paper, that will be very unfair. The student comes in and we ask the student go and learn a software. This is unfair, not really required because his methodology is not finalized yet. We do not know what software he's going to use, right? So the content, the context, the participant level, all that slowly we got to carefully look at. It's part of okay. The role of supervisor are many. It's a director, supervisor, a facilitator, advisor, teacher, guide, critic, freedom giver, supporter, friend, manager, and examiner. The many roles, and that's what I said earlier. Supervisor could be like a father or mother, brother or sister, as a good friend, the best friend. Okay, so we play different role at different times, depending on the stages of research, depending on situation that arise during the process of supervision. Okay, we should not be creating a situation like that. Definitely, we didn't like supervisors when they give situation like this, right? We don't want the situation creating like that. The students are in panic and they get into depression and anxiety and all that. We should not be doing that. We should never get into situation like that. Like, you supervisor or me? How can you have a situation like that? You are in control. Students are under you. They are working with you. You are in complete control of supervision process. Never get in a situation where you are arguing or quarreling with the student. Never. Okay. And we say that if you can prevent the fire, you will never need an extinguisher. Make sure your behavior does not create a situation whereby you are in a fight with the student, and the student goes and complain to the dean. My supervisor is like that. We had a case like in our faculty, there were 7 students under one supervisor. They all lived together and went to UNISA. There was a case like that. We had in our faculty even. So when you create a situation like that, definitely after that you being extinguished to put it down, and it doesn't help. So we have to be careful. We have to be proactive rather than reactive. Okay. Now these few slides will be funny, but I want you to tell me what kind of supervisor are you? This is one kind. I call it a GPMG, General Purpose Machine Guns. Scolding students, shouting at the student. There are many, I have seen in my life. There are not 1, 2. I have seen many. Scolding and even as an external examiner, internal examiner, treating a student like, I don't know what to say. I even heard a language like, you are the dust of the dustbin. I heard that kind of language. I have seen examiners taking the thesis book and throwing to the student. I have seen that. I have seen supervisors taking the research paper, throwing to the student. I've seen that. They are kind of that. Is this Islamic behavior? Is this a kind of behavior you expect from an educated guy? So when I see somebody behaving like that, I would not consider that person is an educated person. I would say at best, the person is a literate person, but he is not an educated person. Supervisor should not be behaving like that. I'm very sure those of you are with me are this type, okay? This is the first type. There are many, there are many. This is the first type. This is the second type. Shock absorber. Okay, so we create a situation and then somehow we have to absorb it now. Okay, like you supervisor or me. It's not a student created that kind of situation, right? It is the supervisor who has created that kind of situation. Peacekeeper. Everything students submit, beautiful. Everything is fine. Okay, keeping peace, but this is not your job. This is not our job. Our job is to be critical, questioning a student. Our job is to be inquisitive, raising more and more questions, making a student more intelligent, more talented, because we are nurturing a kid, a baby. So you cannot be a peacekeeper, okay? Philanthropist. You give everything the student wants. Everything, the way he done, everything is fine. Everything, okay, excellent. You are very nice. There was a student under me, complete PhD now working with UITM. Once she said, Prof, I went to see someone somewhere. And it's an examiner, internal examiner. Looking at her, so you look so beautiful, huh? You are so pretty. And she was like, what to say, she came back to see me, Prof, he was looking at me and telling me, oh, you look so pretty. And I was feeling a kind, So there are cases also like that, So if Dr. Bibi goes somewhere and the supervisor says, oh, Bibi, you look so pretty today. You can imagine how Dr. Bibi is going to feel like. So this is what students feel like, So there could be also like that, philanthropist, broadcaster, never listen. Just talk. I'm supervisor. I tell you to do it, you go and do it. Broadcaster. There are many also. But supervisor should be the best listener. Because you got to keep student motivated. Our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a good listener. He was loved by his companion because of that. Listen to everyone. Remember, there was a case. Hazrat Anas, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, one of the famous Sahaba, right? Narrated many hadiths. One day, Prophet Muhammad asked him to bring something from somewhere. And then he was a child, and on the way, he found some kids are playing. He started playing with them. He forgot that the Prophet asked him to bring something. So after waiting some time, the Prophet Muhammad thought, what is wrong? Anas is not coming. So he went out to investigate what is happening. So he found that Hazrat Anas was playing with other kids. So he called Anas, come. Hey, what's wrong with you? I asked you to bring something. We say, oh, sorry, I was just playing with them. Did Prophet scold him? No. So it is definitely, the case whereby, there are many things that we learn. We read hadith, but we don't learn. There's many sunnah there, So Prophet Muhammad could have scolded the boy. He did not scold. He asked him, go and bring that one. Okay. He was still laughing, he's smiling at the boy. Okay. So listening and good behavior, very important. So this is common broadcaster telling student, oh, do that, you didn't do that, and how come you didn't do that? There are many. As an examiner or supervisor, we cannot be simply just a broadcaster. Okay. Non-existential. Supervisor does not exist. So a student cannot find supervisor like you want a supervising. A student come and talk to you and tell, okay, you go do that, or you go do that, and you never follow up, you never, the student asks you something to do and you never do, and all that, it happens also. Non-existential. There are also a group of supervisors like that. Loser. They're also, okay. Lifesaver. By right, you should be, right? Lifesaver. Encyclopedic. Okay, going into detail and going like hell, and the student doesn't understand. Okay, so there are also a case like that. There are supervisors like that. Procrastinator. Doing the last minute job. Okay, students given you the draft, you want to go for the final, go for the proposal defense, and the date is fixed, and you're not given the feedback, and you're waiting until like the time you give the student doesn't have time to go change anymore. You know, procrastinator. It happens to students. It could be also supervisor. And there are many Rolex Foster. I'm somebody. What do you think of me? I'm a supervisor, you know, I published 100 paper, you know, I saw 20 students already. What do you think of me? You're talking to me, be careful. Those are people like that, okay? Rolex Foster, call them Rolex Foster. 11.59. Ask you to see me at 9. Make sure you see me at 9, not even 1 minute late. Where do you have that kind of situation? Even today's session, we wanted to start at 10, right, Dr. Bibi? And I joined 5 minutes before. I thought we can start at 10, but we didn't start at 10. But Dr. Bibi didn't scold anyone at the beginning, say, how come you all are late? Right? It is normal. There will be circumstances. People may have excuses and problems, and delay may happen. And same goes to the students. Okay, so we give them 1 month. They may not be able to finish 1 month, so extend the time. So, okay, so it's not 11.59. Classifier. There are also a group of people, right? Going into detail and classifying and doing and getting the detail and all that doesn't help. Touch me not. This is close to rollers. The Rolex Foster. Be careful. I'm a supervisor. Be mindful. What I said is right. What you say is wrong. What I said is always right. Supervisor is always right. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. In Asia, it's like that. In human resource, we say there are only 2 rules. Only 2 rules. Rule number 1, boss is always right. Rule number 2, if you disagree, refer back to rule number 1. Okay. So rule number 1, supervisor is always right. Rule number 2, if you disagree, refer back to rule number 1. Meaning is the supervisor who is always right. That should not be the case. So those people are like that. Touch me not would be like that. 2 rules. Rule number 1, supervisor is always right. Rule number 2, if you disagree, come back to rule number 1. Okay. So this is also, this kind of supervisor is also available. Okay. Analysts. Those are very good in analysis. Too much student will be like dead. We have a professor at USM, Professor Mohammed Jantan, who become Deputy Vice Chancellor later. Who is our guru in learning spaces and all that. He was like that, but his students, when they come out, they become somebody. Okay, they all become very good in analysis. Prof. Ramaya is his product. Myself also his product. Okay, so some could be analysts, we may not like it sometimes, but at the end it could be good. Okay. Now, those I have earlier given you, I think they are, sorry. There are about 10 type of supervisor I talked about. So I'm not going to ask you which one you belong to. Earlier I said I'm going to ask you. Of course, you may not be able to tell me exactly now, but I have mentioned about which type is so good supervisor should be. Okay. So I hope that we have some good learnings from earlier. These funny slides, but there are many good learnings are there. Okay. I'm towards the end of my topic discussion. Okay. Final point that I would like to touch before giving you a few slides for effective supervision. Mental and physical health, which is very important when it comes to PhD. Even myself, towards the end of PhD, not at the middle of PhD, I had HBP, Helicobacter pylori. There was a bacteria active in my stomach. And I suffered a lot. I suffered a lot. I was sick, I was hospitalized, and I was treated for that bacteria. And until now, I still have that problem. If I have food intake problem, I still suffer. Okay, so we have to be very careful on that. Looking after a student's health. Okay, this is a study done and published in the Nature journal, the famous journal in the world, Nature. It says that 25%, 29% out of 5,000 students they surveyed, their mental health was on concern, 27%. Second study done by on 6,300 students, and they found 36% students were somehow had mental and physical problem during PhD program. And then after that, a larger survey taking 50,000 students in the survey in UK, and they said about 80%, 86%, 86%, somehow they fall into anxiety and depression to some extent, to some point, some stages of PhD research. Okay, and that's what they said, that they have recommended. Some students have requested that they should be having a quiet room in a library where they can cry. Okay, the PhD students are requesting universities to have a quiet room in the library so that they can go and cry there, a crying room. So this is the research findings and published in the Nature journal. Okay, the relationship between student and supervisor is as close as marriages. Okay, and last long as many as marriages. So it's like a relationship like student and supervisor, unwritten marriage, no? Marriage of convenience. Okay, so this is the analogy taken by many. So you can see your students who have completed a PhD under you, they have given many papers, and they create many network for you. You know, last week I got an email from university in Jordan, and I remember this university has never been in my network. They have requested me to be evaluator for promotion process from assistant professor to associate professor. I was thinking, how did they know me? And then when I was looking at the papers of the student, I found one of my PhD students the co-author, meaning my PhD student introduced me there, you know. So that's how it is. So students after your PhD will be there until the last breath. If you are doing a good supervision, the relationship will be there. My supervisor, that is Professor Dr. Rohani, every year without fail, I will post the Harum Manis to our house in Kuala Lumpur every year without fail, and she loves it. Why do I send it? Because I still love the way she supervised me, her contribution to my career. Okay, so that's how it is, the relationship between the students and supervision. Okay, supervisor. Okay, give me another 5 minutes. I will close the session. Okay, this is a template which I have already done the patenting in Malaysia. This is a paper summary template. How to summarize a paper in one page. A paper could be 10 pages long, or it could be 20 pages long, could be 40 pages long. But I'm proposing this template whereby a paper can be summarized in a single page. Okay, and it's being appreciated by the whole world. People they just love it. When you read a paper, you don't need everything from your paper. Sometimes you may just take few lines, you know, from few pages. So this is an example. I have summarized a paper. You can see here. It was a 16 pages long paper, but I have summarized into a single page. You don't need more than that. Okay. And once you summarize 10 papers in 10 pages, I even have this. This is a summary of 10 papers. 10 papers can be summarized in a single page. So when you have 10 papers, 10 papers, 10 papers, 10 papers, that's what I suggest supervisors to do. Ask a student to read 10 papers, ask them to summarize one paper, one page, then bring this 10 pages into one page. Then ask them to come and see you and you debate. Second round, ask them to read another 10. Then you have one paper. Third round, another. Fourth round, another 10. When a student finishes reading 40 papers, he is going to have 4 papers like this. Then ask them to bring these 4 into one. Then you will see the beauty. 40 papers summarized in one single page. It's possible, huh? My students have done it before. So this is one for you to get help, okay? And this is another one. Research problem when you, this is also I have copyrighted, okay? I am proposing a template to make students or supervisor life easy to plot the research problem. The main problem is your dependent variable. And issue 1, 2, 3, all those are your independent variable. So you find out issues and plot them into this template, and you can finalize your theoretical framework from here. Okay. And this is about knowledge of theoretical gap. Then you get it backed up by industrial or practical issues. Okay. So these two comes together. your research gap is already identified, and then your research problem is defined. Okay, so this could be also helpful. I have already shared the slide with brother Iril, I think. What is his name? I forgot. Iril, I think.
Yes.
And okay, and then the slide will be shared with you. So later you can have these templates available for you. Okay, this is another example. I've given the title and how the students have plotted, identifying the issues, and then plotted, and from there he took as a variable and put it in the theoretical framework. Okay, so that will make your life easier. This is also patented by me. Okay, these are some of my new ideas and research method, and I have patented it. Okay, so these are just funny way of so basically supervisors are leader, not the boss. Okay, so it's supposed to help the student to go with you. Supervisor and student grows together. If the student doing very well, you'll be doing well in your career. The better paper comes from your student, the better your career going to be. Okay, so these are some example of how the leader supervisor should work. Okay, supervisor and students work together. Okay, this is another one. Okay, so with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much again for joining the session, listening to me patiently. And now I would love to have some questions. We still have about almost 25 minutes. We still have 25 minutes. Now I would prefer if everyone can come to camera and share some of your understandings, your perspectives, some additions, or even if you have any questions. If you want to debate on any topic also I talked about, you can also debate. I would welcome that. Be good if you all can come to camera. I will stop presentation, then we can have discussion now. Thank you very much. Dr. Bibi, you have to mute your microphone. Unmute. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you, Praminal, for your sharing knowledge with us just now. So it has indeed been a very informative talk and rich with valuable tips for our participants today. So I would like to say that this has been a very meaningful and fruitful session. So I now invite the floor to post any question to Professor Dr. Aminul Islam related to our topic today.
I see Dr. Shahabuddin is ready.
Yes, yes. I'm ready, Flavan. Thank you very much for well explained from the beginning, but I need some insight on the what is the could you explain or describe on the PhD. The PhD, we have doctorate on business admin. We have PhD. We have industrial PhD, and generally, as a guide for new supervisors, maybe some potential student they went through the kind of DBA thesis and industrial PhD thesis, and during the along the way the supervising session, maybe some the students went through experience by reading. So what is the as a guide, the point of view from Prof to differentiate
Right,
the
sure.
PhD that I said just now. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Dr. Shahabuddin, I understood your question. DBA is basically 70% coursework and 30% thesis. So the thesis we don't really expect as like PhD thesis. It's a mini thesis. 70% coursework and 30% is the research. For MQA, before, if somebody having DBA are not allowed to supervise PhD students, but now I think they have, maybe, I'm not very sure. I think Dr. Bibi, they may have, they are now lenient now. They allow DBA holders to supervise PhD student, if I'm not mistaken. But before they were not allowed to supervise. So if you look at UEM DBA program, there are many now. UIA also a DBA program. I'm now external examiner of a DBA student in UIA. I have been in UEM as external examiner for DBA as well as PhD student. So DBA is basically 70% coursework taught and 30% research. So the expectation from research findings are not as heavy as PhD. PhD is almost like 100% research. But again, there are universities like even UM, they have 6 modules, I think, before they embark on research. So in US, PhD is 4 hours, 4 years duration, 2 hours course, 2 years coursework, and 2 years research. So there are different arrangements are there. So I think as a supervisor, we would know. The other one is industrial PhD. Basically, is on industrial application is being highlighted. For academic PhD, we focus on new knowledge contribution. But when it comes to industrial PhD, we focus more on industrial contribution. It has to be field-related experiment work. And there's another type of PhD also available, paper-based PhD, which I don't really like. There was a case in my faculty, Dr. Uma Gunasilan. Now she's working in UK. She applied for paper-based PhD, and then I was on the committee to evaluate her application, and we rejected. And we advised her to enroll into normal PhD program, and she did. Finally, she completed, now working in the UK. Paper-based PhD is very common in our nanotechnology center for nano, where students will produce 4 papers, and they will just bind it together, the 4 papers, and they get a PhD based on paper-based PhD. So there are 4, basically, Dr. Shahuddin. But again, it depends on which one you are supervising. We should know which one requires what. If it is a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, then it's completely based on research. So new knowledge contribution is number 1. It has to be there. Some industrial application is expected. Some practical application is expected. If it is an industrial PhD, then it's 100% industrial contribution should be there. There could be some new knowledge could be there, but industrial contribution is mostly highlighted. If it is paper-based PhD, then definitely it has to be university requirements are there, 4Q1 or 4Q2, that kind of things are there. So it all depends on what kind of PhD program we're looking at. And then we see the university or institution requirement, and we guide students based on the requirements given by the university. You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Shahuddin. You have to unmute.
Yes, yes, Prof. Okay, good. That explained just now well understood. So as a guide for new supervisors, thank you very much, Prof.
Welcome. Thank you. Sister Rabiatul Adawi.
Yeah.
Are you there, sister?
Rabiatul Adawiyah. Prof,
Are you there?
calling for you.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
At the moment, I don't
speak.
have any question yet.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
but you could follow me, right?
Yes, yes. But it is a good sharing for me to further continue for PhD in the next future. Yes.
All right. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Dr. Mai Shahira has spoken before. Sister Fazila Aida, are you there?
Fazila. Ila. Do you have any question, Ila? Maybe Ila follow.
Okay, I have no question. Thank you.
All right. Sister Nul Husna, are you there? No. Brother Muhammad Munzir.
Ustaz
Muhammad
Munzir,
Munzir.
do you have any question to Prof? Ustaz Munzir. Ada ke?
Thank you. I know no questions so far.
Ustaz, can you speak in Bahasa? No problem. I do understand. No problem.
Okay.
Kalau nak speak in Bahasa, no problem. Boleh.
I think very comprehensive explanation. So thank you for all.
All right, Ustaz. Jazakumullah. Thank you.
Prof, please, saya nak tanya soalan. Can
Sorry.
I?
Yes, sure.
Okay, Prof, sometime as a supervisor, okay, we want sometimes lah, not all, okay, some supervisor they want all what they're going through, okay, semasa PhD dia belajar dulu, for example attending the class, this methodology and academic writing, and then doing the research using this method, and we want our students to do the same thing. However, actually, tesis dia tu tak sesuai pun untuk buat, for example, case study. Maybe more on phenomenology kan kalau untuk qualitative. So, do you have any advice to all supervisor yang baru first time nak supervise student ni? Tak semestinya apa yang kita alami masa PhD itulah pelajar kita kena going through juga. Silakan Pak.
My personality is different. I love to explore into new things. So I have students use SPSS, use PLS, use Stata, use Amos, and even Dr. Isa on Sukuk, he used content-based analysis, which I have never done before.
Okay.
But by supervising him, I learned it. So I think when we did PhD, like for me, I use SPSS. But when I started supervising, I realized SPSS become outdated. Now I need to learn PLS. So I went to attend a 2 days long workshop in Changlun, conducted by one EPM and one UVM lecturer. So I learned it, you know. So I think we have to take it as an opportunity. If we find a student wants to use something different from us, we should appreciate and we learn together with the student. That's how we grow, you know, rather than we keep into the domain that we are there. Then we'll not be growing. Unless something totally hard for me to, like for me now, being a finance, PhD holder, if I keep continuing with the traditional finance, I'm not going to go anywhere anymore, even though I have become a professor now. So now I'm working hard to develop myself in the area of fintech, financial technology. So I have already given a taught fintech in a university in Bangladesh. And by teaching, I am learning. By teaching, I'm learning. I was given an opportunity to teach, so I didn't reject it. So I started teaching. I struggled. One of my PhD students doing PhD in fintech, he helped me. So I taught and I learned. And now I have to learn the software, Python. Now Python is the one for data analytics, business analytics, financial analytics. I have to learn it. So at this age, I am now looking for, we already found somebody. So he's going to teach me and I'm going to learn it. So I think as an academic, we have to be open. We should not be insisting on the methodology that I use. They should be using the same methodology. Rather, we should be exploring into different areas, and that what makes us someone, you know, multidisciplinary. Would be able to guide to many students. Yeah.
Okay. One more question, Prof. We know that sometimes we also will have a PhD part-time student. Okay, so how you want to make sure they are on track, and because usually they will be busy with their daily work lah. So can you sometimes we ask them what is your progress, and so how to make sure they are on track, sometimes for years, something like that.
It's a very challenging task. I think Dr. Bibi knows that at PPAD once I had 23 PhD students at a time because we have very few PhD holders. And even I had to take students from marketing, management and all that. I had to, there was no choice. 23 students. So that in Professor Dr. Rohani, my supervisor, when she knew it, she called me. He said, Aminul, you are crazy. You should not be having more than 6 at a time. Your life is going to go crazy. You shouldn't do that. I suffered a lot because 23, you remember you are taking care of 23 babies. So at home, when you have 2 daughters, Dr. Bibi has 2 daughters, right? When they are babies, taking care of 2, even you get tired. And now I have to take care of 23. You can imagine how was it physical, and they were all are here walking around, running around, you know. And I am basically day and night always thinking of them, thinking of their work. So what I did, I think through that experience, what I learned it with the advancement of technology, I have a WhatsApp group for my PhD students, and I keep posting. I think last 2 years because of COVID, I'm not that serious. Students are not here, and students also were having anxiety and depression due to COVID. I mean, I was under anxiety and depression, scary and all the COVID-19, whether it's going to affect me or my family, all that sort of things were there. I couldn't really follow the way I should have followed the student. But normal situation, I will make sure every student communicate with me once in 2 weeks. And I have a diary. I have a diary where I maintain. Student communicate, I will tick. Student did not communicate, I will say cross. So I have to call. So I won't wait for the student, rather I will call the student. And if I do that, the student will be more obliged to do the work, okay? Now I'm having, actually last year I took 20 postdoctoral scholars, 20. And I had a lot of problem, because they all are, most of them are professors of universities. And some of them want to do postdoctoral, and they want to do with me. They don't want anyone else. There are 2, 3 I managed to push to Prof. Harshita, to PM Dr. Tunku, and PM Dr. Ummi. But 20 of them, if they get me, they will do. They don't get me, they want to do it. So they are with me. And they all are professors and established in the career. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So I started calling them. Messaging them. Still, I don't get feedback. I still keep continuing communicating. So that's how it is. So for part-time students, especially Dr. Bibi, we have to give a special focus, because full-timer will be around you. If the COVID is over, they will be around you. They will come and see you, and you can see them. Part-timers all are the troublemakers. So if you do not closely follow up with them, they may not be able to finish it. There are many. My own students, I think 4 or 5 of them couldn't complete, part-timers. Couldn't complete. They have to now re-register. They cannot finish it. They cannot finish it. So even though I closely follow them, still, because they always have excuses, too busy with the job, too much work to do, and all that. So I think it's good if you can say, for example, at least once in 2 months, inviting them for lunch, having lunch together, having heart-to-heart talk. That may help. That may help.
Okay, Prof. Ada lagi tak soalan daripada floor kita ni? Do you have any more questions to our guest speaker today? Ada lagi tak? Boleh tak kalau kita buka kamera sebentar untuk ambil gambar? Tengok. Participant. Buka kamera sekejap. Itu Ariel tadi tu, Prof. Yang Prof. Okay, kalau kita boleh buka sekejap kamera untuk kita ambil gambar sebagai participation kita pada bengkel hari ni.
That would be good. Everybody can switch on the camera. At least I know whom I talked to today. So when you walk in Perlis, at least if I bump on you, I know that somewhere we met together.
Yeah.
Sisters would be sometimes could be difficult at home, but brothers definitely can switch on, right?
Yes.
If sisters are ready, can also.
Malu ke? Banyak ni je yang buka. Tu Dr. Dia. Lagi? Yang lain tak nak buka ke? Kita tunggu sekejap. Tu Ustazah Nurul Khafifah, Dr. Farah pun dah ada. Dr. Farah masih lagi background persidangan UiTM. Okey, ada lagi ke? Yang ni saja. Saya nak ambil gambar lah. Okey, sekejap. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you yang switch on the computer. So, as a summary for our workshop today, Prof, okay, we can conclude that positive relationship between supervisor and supervisee is important. The supervisor and supervisor relationship has a significant impact actually on the success of the graduate itself. Okay, and it is important that the relationship provides stability, security, trust, okay, opportunity for the intellectual debate, and support in pursuit of student goals. And students actually are beginning a long-term relationship, okay, with their supervisor, and it's important to be honest and open about yourself, especially for students, because we also don't want to put on act that student might have to maintain for the duration, tambung lagi duration of their degree for PhD. And being yourself from the start will help you and your student quickly determine if you and your supervisor or your student are the right fit. Okay, well, it seems that there are no more questions from our participants today. Before we end our workshop session today, I would like to ask all participants to fill in their personal information in the Google form link provided by the Secretariat for the purpose of the preparing our certificate of participation. And I guess it's the end of our second postgraduate workshop series or series 2 today. And on behalf of the Secretariat, I would like to thank once again our guest speaker of today, yang berbahagia, Professor Dr. Aminul Islam from University Malaysia Perlis for being with us here today. I would also like to thank all the participants who have successfully attended our program today. And hopefully we shall meet again in series 3 of our postgraduate workshop series in the future. And thank you and see you again, inshallah. And we shall end our session today by reciting Al-Quran, Surah Al-Asr, and Tasbih Kafarah.
All right, thank you and Jazakumullah, and hope to see you some other time, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much. I think for our postgraduate workshop series for today. Thank you. See you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Welcome.
Doctor.
Welcome. So shall I leave now? Is that okay, Dr. Bibi?
Okay, Ralph. Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome. Assalamu alaikum.